You're watching Force 13's live streaming service.
Major Hurricane Otis has explosively intensified to Category 5 strength just offshore Mexico, currently located at 16.1 degrees north, 99.7 degrees west. National Hurricane Center storm has winds of 160 miles per hour, that's 260 kilometers per hour, still intensifying at this time, moving north-northwest at 9 miles per hour, pressure 927 millibars right now. This storm is located just offshore with a very small wind field. That's a very small hurricane as far as Eastern Pacific hurricanes go, albeit that those tropical storm force winds are probably just spreading onshore now. Of course, the core of this storm is forecast to pass just over Acapulco, in particular the northeastern side. Right now, a hurricane warning is in place for Punta Maldonado, westward to Cihuateno. A hurricane watch is in place from Laguna Tlacuata to Punta Maldonado, and a tropical storm warning is in effect from Laguna Tlacuata to Punta Maldonado, same area for the hurricane watch. Right now, it's currently located, the numbers are a few minutes out of date, 55 miles away from Acapulco and closing fast, 60 miles from San Marcos, 65 from Marcalia, 75 from Cruz Grande, and 115 from Buena Vista. This is what these satellite estimates are saying right now, hopelessly behind and on the storm's intensification phase. We'll have to wait and see if they do catch up, but I don't really think they will. This storm is still intensifying as it heads into landfall and could even intensify a little bit up towards maybe even 165, 175 miles per hour. The latest National Hurricane Center's forecast cone is pretty straightforward. Category 5 landfall expected to somewhere probably just to the west of Acapulco, maybe right over Acapulco itself. That would be a really catastrophic situation. And then, of course, weakening rapidly as it moves inland. That's what most Eastern Pacific storms do over these regions as they interact with the mountains of Mexico. This is an apocalyptic scenario per the National Hurricane Center for the city of Acapulco. We are expecting catastrophic to maybe even total complete destruction of low-lying coastal areas from this major Category 5 hurricane. These temperatures right now are more than enough to sustain additional intensification all the way up to landfall. The potential downslipping from the coastline of Mexico or the mountains of Mexico could be a potential issue for this storm right now, but I really don't think that's going to be an issue due to Otis's fairly small size. Oceanograph model run hopelessly behind on the storm's intensification trend, only forecasting a high-end Category 1. It's clearly gone well beyond that. Rainfall is going to be a big threat, but once the storm dissipates, the rainfall threat will down as well, but it's going to be a long 24 to 48 hours for areas in the vicinity of this storm. Ram diagnostic plot, pretty much same story. Rapid weakening as the storm moves into land. Wind shear is incredibly low. Will support an intensification as the storm heads into land. We'll have to wait and see just how strong the storm gets. Seasonal temperatures, not an issue, and relative humidity, not an issue. So this storm is still intensifying as it heads into Mexico and could be a very strong landfall. This storm has already beaten the rapid intensification record globally for Patricia. Patricia was a previous record holder, and it is now held by this storm. We'll have to wait and see what the exact wind speed data is. Look at this ferocious hurricane as it continues to move north-northwest towards the coastline of Mexico. The eye temperature has been rapidly warming in the past few hours, up to now to around, I believe, negative 10 degrees Celsius, and cloud tops are well supporting of Category 5 intensity. Of course, they don't look as impressive on the satellite imagery, but I can guarantee you they are a little bit colder than what they probably are there. And this hurricane is continuing to move off towards the west-northwest right now. North-northwest, I should say. National Hurricane Center do expect that this storm will weaken rapidly as it moves inland, but of course we got to get through this catastrophic landfall, and we are running additional live coverage on this storm right after the storm date concludes here in just a few moments. I'll be joined by my team, I expect, and we'll have further updates on this dangerous hurricane as it moves off towards the coastline of Mexico. Landfall is only a few hours away. Preparations should be near completion in the affected areas. coastlines of Mexico have never seen a hurricane this powerful in these regions. The most powerful hurricane to make landfall in these regions back then was 1976, and that was Hurricane Madeline. I believe that was the name back then. So this is a apocalyptic scenario for the coastlines of Mexico. Of course, my name is Ethan Bruning. I am joined by my live team consisting of David, Alex, and Orlando. How are you guys doing?
Not bad. A bit shocked this way, and it's one where people will have to take close attention and probably evacuate. I'm a little bit concerned about the storm surge side of things. So landfall is going to be what? Mid-range category 4 or category 5?
I have no idea, but our main focus should be on this dangerous Eastern Pacific hurricane. There is still some room for this storm to intensify as it moves into land here. You can see here is the National Hurricane Center's forecast cone. For those wondering, eye diameter right now is probably around 15 nautical miles, so it is a fairly small eye as it continues to move off towards the north-northwest. But you'll notice here, this line is the National Hurricane Center's forecast track. And I believe, I don't know what the key is, but right around here is the city of Acapulco. And if we were to extrapolate that, they are going to get the northeastern eye wall of this storm. And some parts of Acapulco are very low lying, so this is an extremely dangerous situation for these areas. They have never received a hurricane this strong. I think the strongest hurricane to make landfall in these regions was only, I believe, a Category 2 or a Category 3. So they've never seen anything like this. Anywhere along Mexico has never seen anything like this. Pressure has been downgraded since the fact, of course. Was operationally 165 up here, up in these vicinities. But it has a completely different. This is going into a very heavily populated area. The eye wall, too, heading into a very heavily populated areas. The city of Acapulco, I believe, is around 800 to 900,000 people living within the city, and probably more when you factor in tourists. So this is an extremely dangerous situation, and needs to be taken very seriously.
And just reading the NHC, what is it, the forecast, significant change to mention to the track forecast is that it has been shifted to the right due to a recent wobble to the east and the latest model trends in a general north-northwest motion at about 8 knots is anticipated through landfall. Rapid weakening is then anticipated after landfall, which is good, but we still got the wind and the rain. However, Otis should dissipate tomorrow night over the higher terrain of Mexico. This is a extremely serious situation for the archipelago metropolitan area. I haven't pronounced that right. With the core of the destructive hurricane likely to come near or over that large city early Wednesday. There are no hurricanes on record even close to this intensity for this part of Mexico. And the storm surge, as I said, is going to be critical. Life-threatening coastal flooding near and to the east of where the centre makes landfall. Near the coast. Go on.
I was going to say, I was just going to go over the hazards affecting land per the National Hurricane Center advisory. This is going to be a long list, so bear with me here. Wind. Hurricane conditions are expected within the portions of the hurricane warning area by late tonight and early Wednesday, with extremely destructive winds near the core. Tropical storm conditions are expected to first reach the coast within the warning areas pretty soon, if not already, and then spread northwestward within the warning areas through Wednesday. Winds affecting the upper floors of high-rise buildings will be significantly stronger than those near ground level. Storm surge. A potentially catastrophic storm surge is expected to produce life-threatening coastal flooding near and to the east of where the center makes landfall. Near the coast, the storm surge will be accompanied by large and destructive waves. Rainfall. Otis is expected to produce rainfall totals of 8 to 16 inches with maximum amount of 20 inches through Thursday across Guerrero and the western coastal sections of Oaxaca. I don't know how to pronounce that. My apologies if I mispronounced any of that. This rainfall will produce flash and urban flooding, along with mudslides in areas of higher terrain. And surf. Swells generated by Otis will affect portions of the southern coast of Mexico in the next couple of days. These swells are likely to produce life-threatening surf and rip current conditions. Please consult products from your local weather office. Just to repeat, discussion and outlook at 10 p.m. Central Daylight Time. The center of Hurricane Otis was located near latitude 16.1 degrees north, longitude 99.7 degrees west, or per the National Hurricane Center, about 55 miles south-southeast of Acapulco. Otis is moving toward the north-northwest near 9 miles an hour, and this general motion is expected to continue for the next day or so, with landfall forecast overnight or early Wednesday in southern Mexico. Satellite data indicate that maximum sustained winds have increased to near 160 miles per hour. That's 260 kilometers per hour, 1 minute sustained winds with higher gusts. Otis is now an extremely dangerous Category 5 hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale, and Otis is forecast to remain a Category 5 hurricane until landfall and rapid weakening and forecast due to the higher terrain of Mexico. And Otis will likely dissipate over southern Mexico on Wednesday night, if not sooner. Hurricane force winds extend outwards up to 30 nautical miles from the center, and tropical storm force winds extend outwards up to 70. The estimated internal pressure is 927 millibars. This is an extremely dangerous situation and needs to be taken with the utmost certainty, bearing in mind that originally 24 hours ago, this is probably only a tropical storm. This morning, I believe, is actually a tropical storm, and it has explosively identified up to Category 5 status. If you do have any comments or questions, we won't be on the air for very long. Do send them in. Be sure to tag us at 413. We'll answer those in due course. A hurricane warning, just to issue this to go over the watches and warnings real quick. A hurricane warning is in effect from Puerto Maldonado, westward to Cihuatango, and a hurricane watch is in effect from Lagunas de Chacuaca to Punta de Maldonado, and a tropical storm warning is in effect for the same areas.
So people on the coast need to pay attention to it, and they'll be interested to learn what warnings, what the local media is saying, but unfortunately it's not going to give residents of the area much time to get prepared, and probably a lot of them will be shocked, Ethan, considering that there's been other systems for the Category 5, but
Yeah,
the storm surge.
Of course, this area of Mexico has never seen a hurricane this strong. The strongest hurricane ever recorded to make landfall in the coast of Mexico was Patricia back in 2015. 150 miles per hour at landfall. Of course, just a week or two ago, we had the third strongest on landfall ever recorded, or tied, I should say, with Linda, and that was 140. So here we are dealing with another major hurricane coming ashore at this time, of course, at Category 5 intensity.
And Ethan, I hope you don't mind, but viewers, we are working on a second video, which will be in Spanish. So keep an eye on the channel. That's going to be available in a few minutes from now.
Question here. Will Otis make landfall as a Category 5, and would it have the same impacts as Pauline back in 1997? The National Hurricane Center doesn't need forecasted Category 5 landfall. I personally would not expect very much weakening out of this hurricane prior to landfall. But of course, the biggest issue with Pauline is Pauline came in over here. It was really a very powerful Category 4 and was moving a lot slower than this storm was, and was fairly similarly sized, of course. But Pauline had a much higher rainfall threat due to its very slow movement. This hurricane is, of course, it's moving slow, but we aren't really expecting too bad of an impact here. Of course, Acapulco might get some serious impacts, of course, but I expect that things will not be as bad as Pauline back in 1997. Of course, it's too early to tell exactly how bad things will be, which is the only way that we can really detail it, I guess you could say, or compare it with Pauline, is to live through it, and we'll be living through it in the next few hours. What are these storm surge predictions? I'm not entirely sure what the storm surge forecast is. National Hurricane Center doesn't do that for the Eastern Pacific, unfortunately. I'm not entirely sure why, to be honest. It really is unfortunate that they don't. But if I had to guess, we are expecting probably storm surge in excess of 10 feet in Acapulco.
I'm just seeing if there's any local information re storm surge.
In the meantime, here is the National Hurricane Center's key messages that they issued with their latest advisory. They say Otis is forecast to be potentially catastrophic Category 5 hurricane when it reaches the southern coast of Mexico early Wednesday. Life-threatening hurricane force winds are expected in portions of the hurricane warning area with catastrophic to complete damage expected. A potentially catastrophic storm surge is projected to produce life-threatening coastal flooding near and to the east of where the center makes landfall. Near the coast, the surge will be accompanied by large and destructive waves, and heavy rains from Otis will continue to impact areas of southwest Mexico this week. This rainfall will produce flash and urban flooding, along with mudslides in areas of higher terrain. Just to reiterate, this is an extremely dangerous situation. I cannot underestimate this fact enough. This is an extremely dangerous situation. This area of Mexico has never seen a hurricane this strong make landfall at this intensity. This is a historic and life-threatening situation for the city of Acapulco in Mexico.
And military currently patrolling the local beach area.
They probably shouldn't be, to be honest. They probably need to be seeking shelter this time, given that the eye wall is probably just hours offshore. It is very important that if you are listening to us and you are in Acapulco, take shelter immediately. This is a life-threatening situation with a Category 5 hurricane eye wall approaching. Question here, will this still be recon or is it too late? I believe it is too late. There was a special recon mission scheduled for tomorrow afternoon locally, but it does appear that this hurricane will be inland by then. Another question here, would it make landfall directly over Acapulco or just to the east of it? Current indications are that this hurricane will be making landfall literally just to the west of Acapulco. But it's going to be a close enough call that it's really not going to matter at this point.
And emergency shelters will be are now open. I'm just looking at where they're located.
Orlando, you were going to say something.
Yeah, the issue about this thing is given this area, we've been familiar with storms making landfall with usually large towns or just isolated areas of population. Unfortunately, when it comes to Acapulco metro area, it's a bit spread out. So even west or east, regardless of what's going to happen, people are going to be impacted, and not just a few people, a large amount. So the entire area, probably about 2 million, 3 million people, is going to be taking direct hit from this.
Here's the latest National Hurricane Center forecast cone. Pretty similar story of what I said on the update. Rapid weakening as the hurricane moves inland, but of course we have to get through the landfall, and it's going to be a long few next hours for the city of Acapulco. And I really do hope that residents in Acapulco are taking this storm extremely seriously.
Yeah, another concern is the Acapulco Bay area. There's a lot of tourist residencies there for vacations, and as well as the fact that there's a bunch of just general homes right around there. In this situation, it's very catastrophic. So best hope is that there are actual shelters that have opened up because there's no time to evacuate.
Absolutely. And 24 hours ago, this was only forecast to be I believe, a Category 1 hurricane landfall. And here we are dealing with a Category 5. This is an extremely dangerous situation. I cannot say this enough. This coastline of Mexico has never had a hurricane this strong. What is the current eye temperature and how fast has the eye warmed? It's a bit unclear at how fast the eye has warmed, but right now the current eye temperature per satellite imagery, there is a little bit of a zenith angle on GOES 18. GOES 18 is picking up an eye temperature of negative 30, so it's not too impressive. But on GOES 16, the latest that I can see that GOES 16 has is around negative 15. So it's probably a little bit warmer than that. Um, Given that these hurricanes' eye is incredibly small, um, but this is an extremely dangerous situation regardless of the eye temperature. If you do have any comments or questions, you can send them down into the comment section down below. We'll answer those in due course. Of course, this is a extremely dangerous situation and a very impromptu live stream. It's a bit unclear at how long we'll be live for. We're just testing behind the scenes to hopefully get someone take over up until landfall. This sort of really shocked us all. This sort of intensification trend that we've been witnessing throughout the day today. Sort of pulled a fast one on us all, as these tropical cyclones sometimes do. And that's why in this kind of business we always say hope for the best and prepare for the worst. And that is certainly a true story with Otis here. Someone is asking us here, will the damage be much worse as Otis rapidly intensified and the locals were caught off guard? I'm not entirely sure. I imagine that they still had some time to prepare, given that Otis isn't moving at, Patricia speed coming on in. This is moving a little bit slower than what Patricia is. Moving northwest at 9 miles per hour right now. It's a bit unclear at how much things have prepared, but I really do hope that this residents in the city of Acapulco right now are taking shelter. I'm just repeating myself at this point.
Another thing is, though, my main concern is the infrastructure quality of the area. Um, Given the fact that this will be pretty much an unprecedented event, at least in recorded meteorological history. So it's going to be a huge concern, and all I can do at this point is just hope for the best because we're really at the mercy of this thing.
Absolutely. So question here, why did this go through such rapid intensification, and what are your thoughts? The main thing is we weren't really expecting Otis to be impacted by we were expecting Otis to be significantly impacted by some dry air and some wind shear, and clearly that has not happened at all. That the wind shear was forecast to be a big inhibitor on development, and clearly it has not. And given that Otis is a fairly small hurricane, small hurricanes tend to be impacted less by wind shear. Um, and I imagine that Otis's outflow as well certainly helped it intensify up. And of course, sea temperatures and ocean heat content is more than enough for this area. And it would not surprise me if, given that Otis is even moving so slow, I think that the sea temperatures are just way too high, that the sea temperatures aren't really going to be decreasing that much. And of course, we just had Tropical Depression 21L move offshore, is in the process of moving offshore from the Atlantic, and that could develop. That is given a 50% chance. You can see in this orange shaded area here, that is the development area, and some models are even suggesting that there should be another hurricane threat for these regions. We'll have to wait and see what happens with this system, though. So certainly it is prime hurricane season along the coastline of Mexico here, with Otis and potentially in the future the remnants of 21L here along the coastline of Mexico.
Yeah, another thing worth mentioning is the fact that it was mainly we didn't know exactly how the interaction with the jet stream as well as the trough was going to go. But sometimes, as we've seen even in the Atlantic with storms like Michael and Ian, if it aligns correctly, it can actually, rather than be a detriment to the system, actually boost it and help it intensify even further. And unfortunately, this situation, that's exactly what happened, especially with the waters right off the shore of Acapulco, even being warmer towards the coastline. There's more than enough fuel for this thing to keep going, even up to landfall.
Yeah, this storm is probably still intensifying at this time. It's a bit unclear how much the storm is intensifying at this point. Um, but of course, it is a Category 5 on the Saffir-Simpson scale, and really any intensification past 160 miles per hour isn't really going to matter at all. Once you get into these kind of wind speed ranges, 160, 175, past really 150, 155, there isn't really much need for any increase in wind speed. Um, but if you were wondering right now, per the National Hurricane Center's forecast advisory, right now winds are estimated to be 160 miles per hour, of course, and we are estimated that wind gusts are up to 195 miles per hour with this storm right now. Another question here: how many millimeters of or inches of rain will be produced in the area where Otis is to make landfall? Per the National Hurricane Center's forecast, I'll read it again for the heavy rainfall in their advisory. Otis is expected to produce rainfall totals of 8 to 16 inches with a maximum amount of 20 inches through Thursday across Guerrero and the western coastal section of Oaxaca province. This rainfall will produce flash and urban flooding along with mudslides in areas of a higher terrain. So that's what they're expecting. It looks like 8 to 16 inches with localized higher amounts to 20. I'm unclear what that is in millimeters, by the way. Another question here: will Otis weaken before landfall? I really don't think so. If it weakens, it might be by, say, 5 miles per hour. It's a bit hard to say exactly how much it'll weaken. Um, you know, this has truly just been a really a downcasting situation. We've sort of been playing catch up throughout the storm's whole life, really, or at least in the past 24 hours. Um, and that's going to be a trend pretty much for the next few hours up until landfall.
What's the forward speed?
North of us at 9 miles per hour right now, David.
And how far off the coast?
We can get the distance from Acapulco right now. Latest distance from Acapulco, per the latest distances from the center of the eye, is around 39 nautical miles to the south-southeast right now. And closing, of course.
So, how, and just the third one, how wide is the eye?
How wide is the eye? We can get that as well.
Yes,
Still looks like that it's around 50 nautical miles wide.
50 or 15. I'm just thinking, what, 2 or
Breaking
3
news,
hours
breaking
away?
news. National Hurricane Center has increased the intensity to 165 miles per hour and 923 millibars. This hurricane is still intensifying as it pushes off towards the north-northwest. 165 miles per hour, 923 millibars. Just update now from the National Hurricane Center. This is an extremely dangerous situation. This hurricane is still intensifying as it heads into land. This is now the strongest hurricane of the Eastern Pacific season so far. This is now past officially HOVA of 2023 here in the Eastern Pacific. At this point, I am at a loss for words.
How strong or could it
165 at this
go
point.
further?
This is a insane situation, and I really hope for the best for the city of Acapulco. The eye wall is estimated to be, let's have a look here. The center of the eye wall is only about 15 to 20 miles away. So if you are in Acapulco, and I mean this, seek shelter immediately. This is an extremely dangerous situation. You have never dealt with anything like this. Don't try to underestimate this hurricane. You've seen what Category 5's hurricanes can do in the past. You've seen Dorian. Not saying that this is going to be as strong as Dorian, but you've seen that the kind of damage that these storms can produce. Just trying to think of past Category 5 landfalls. We had U2 on this day a few days ago. over in the Mariana Islands in the Western Pacific. Damage wasn't that bad, but those islands are pretty much made to withstand against Category 5 typhoons over there. Trying to think of other Category 5s. Of course, we had Haiyan in 2013. That was much stronger than this. Not saying that this damage is going to be as bad as those storms, but just trying to show you the power of these hurricanes and the damage that they can cause.
And another item in the centre's advisory is mudslides. So destructive waves and the storm surge, 8 to 16 inches with 20 inches through Thursday morning. So flash flooding, urban flooding, mudslides, especially in the higher terrain.
Isaac has joined us. I believe he's going to remain on mute, but he looks to be sharing a webcam right now out of Acapulco. Isaac, you're free to communicate with me in live discussion, and I'll relay your messages to the live chat if needed. Another question here: how much storm surge will occur at Acapulco, Laguna de Tres Palos, and Laguna de Tres Coyuca, bordering Acapulco? It's a bit unclear what the exact storm surge forecast is, but if I had to guess, probably 10 to 15 feet might be conservative for this personally. Maybe a little bit higher, up towards 20. It's a bit hard to say exactly how bad the storm surge will be, but regardless, this is going to be a catastrophic hurricane for these regions, and I imagine will be a record book for these regions.
It's very concerning to me that there are people out there that I've seen on that video and how close they are to the water and also how calm everything seems. So it kind of feels as though that this is a situation where everything will come in at once.
Absolutely, and it's pretty inevitable at this point that this Acapulco is at least going to get hurricane force winds. Uh, you can see here this purple radius here that I'm circling here. This is the hurricane force wind field per the National Hurricane Center's latest advisory. And if you were to basically parallel this with the forecast cone, there's Acapulco. So, Acapulco, you are in for a very rough few hours here, just in a few hours, if not already. I imagine there's probably strong winds there already, and the wind speed is probably going to increase pretty dramatically. And if this storm continues to rapidly intensify, it could reach a wind speed of 175 miles per hour prior to landfall.
This has to be up there in one of the most fast, rapid intensifications we have ever seen, especially in this region.
I believe so. I believe it is literally the fastest intensifying tropical cyclone on record, I believe. I believe that record has been broken officially by Patricia, I believe. Per the National Hurricane Center's. It's either beaten it or it's up there with it.
Yeah, because 12 hours ago it was a tropical storm.
Of course, we're still watching the storm intensify right in front of our eyes. This is a extremely dangerous hurricane. Now with wind speeds of 165 miles per hour, pressure 923 millibars, still intensifying as it pushes off towards the north-northwest. Another question here: will Mexico City get affected by heavy rains? Already drizzling here. I'm not entirely sure where Mexico City is on this map, but you might get some heavy rain at times due to this hurricane. But I imagine the rainfall threat over there won't be that bad. Our main focus is, of course, going to be on the city of Acapulco, which is about to get a very, very serious impact from this extremely dangerous Category 5 hurricane. Eye temperature is continuing to increase now up to negative 10 degrees Celsius. This upgrade from negative 15 degrees Celsius to negative 10 means that the storm is continuing to intensify. This is an extremely dangerous situation for the coastline and for the city of Acapulco. I cannot underestimate this hurricane enough. I've said it again, I've said it before, and I will say it again. This is an extremely dangerous and historic hurricane for these regions. Nothing has ever been like this in the coastline of Mexico. The Eastern Pacific coastline, has never dealt with anything this strong. Do you have any thoughts on this storm, Orlando, at this time?
Honestly, at this point, I'm just watching as the eye just keeps on clearing out even more and more. And that's just an even bigger indicator of its intensification. It's a tight core, it's a tight system. Its wind field is also small, which is beneficial on one end, but very bad on the other. It's just a lot of energy that's just going to be focused on one densely populated area of Mexico. And I don't think there has been enough time for people to actually prepare or even know how to prepare given the intensity of this system.
I believe that Isaac is showing an alternate camera in Acapulco, showing a very calm situation. Eye temperature now up to -9 degrees Celsius. So this storm is still intensifying right now at a pretty rapidly rate. And Isaac's just saying that it is very eerily calm there. Yeah, it is very eerily calm. That I expect that the wind speed is going to rapidly increase. Do not underestimate this hurricane, and I mean that. Do not underestimate it. This is an extremely dangerous and life-threatening
Um,
situation.
I don't like to make comparisons with other intense and very deadly systems. However, something that comes to mind when it comes to the potential surge that could be observed is similar to Haiyan in the sense of how quick it can happen and how fast it could come in, especially in a Bay Area like Acapulco.
Yeah, absolutely. Acapulco is a bay region, and that's going to further increase the amount of storm surge threat with this. This is not a situation to take lightly at all. Continue to send in your
Yeah,
comments and
another thing is
questions. Be sure to tag us at Force15. Go ahead, Orlando.
yeah, another thing is just honestly there isn't even a good scenario here, but at least the least damaging one when if the Bay Area is just missed to the east, because otherwise it's just trouble, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. Will Otis surpass Patricia for the strongest landfall in Pacific hurricane ever? It's quite likely it will at this point, unfortunately. The record for the strongest landfalling Eastern Pacific hurricane on record stands at a course at 150 miles per hour. That's only a category 4. Eye temperature is continuing to increase, by the way, now up to -7.8 degrees Celsius. So this storm is still intensifying. -6.8 as I say that.
Yeah, another thing is like I've been hoping that the proximity to land will actually be a hindrance. However, it seems as though it hasn't played a role at all at this point. And if it has, if anything, it's helped tighten the core even more.
Yeah, this is a disastrous situation, still intensifying as it heads into Mexico, and it would not surprise me at this point if this hurricane attains winds of 175 miles per hour.
Supposedly, there's a lot of eyewall lightning, and just observe some lightning off the coast of Acapulco Bay in this live feed cam.
Yep, we've got that camera back up. Hopefully that lightning, or some lightning, is shown at least. We'll wait for a little bit on the live camera. Looks like it's potentially raining there in Acapulco.
I'm not sure you've seen the graphic that Isaac sent, but that is a lot of lightning that's going on in the center
Yeah,
of
I've noticed that
Otis Ridge.
and that amount of eyewall lightning we're seeing per satellite imagery is an indication that this hurricane is still intensifying at this time, which is not a good scenario at all. And there is that graphic of all those eyewall lightnings currently displayed on your screen. This is an extremely dangerous situation, and you can very clearly see the city of Acapulco up to the top there, along with the eye wall of this dangerous Category 5 hurricane with winds estimated to be 165 miles per hour and higher gusts. If you have any comments or questions, you can send them down to the comment section down below. We'll answer those in due course. I do believe that a Spanish update has recently been published on our YouTube channel. You can find the latest on there if you speak that language. And please forward the stream on to anyone that you may know in the region. The more people that know about this hurricane, the better, given the very short notice of this rapid intensification phase that we've been witnessing. Going back to the webcam here, you'll notice that those waves are picking up a little bit in intensity, but I don't anticipate that they will be picking up in intensity very much. Isaac, do you have any clue what this webcam actually is? This is a personal question for you. Or what this resort is called, I should be asking. Okay, thank you. We'll have a look and see where exactly this is. Orlando, if you can, could you go over the watches and warnings again while I'm trying to find out where this is?
Sure. Just give me one moment.
Okay, just while he grabs that, if you do have any comments or questions, please send us down to the comment section down below. What is the diameter of the storm, like the whole storm? It's a bit unclear exactly how wide it is, but from outflow to outflow, it's probably around 600 to 700 miles. But of course, you're talking about the bulk of the hurricane. The bulk is around 170, 175 miles wide. The eye continues to be around 15 nautical miles wide, maybe even contracting a little bit down to 10 nautical miles on my end, which is another sign
So
of intensification.
yeah, so just to reiterate some of the watches and warnings, there has been no changes officially by National Hurricane Center of the Eastern Pacific. The summary of watches and warnings in effect is a hurricane warning is in effect from Puerto Maldonado westward to Zihuatanejo. A hurricane watch is in effect for Lagunas de Chachua to Punta Maldonado. A tropical storm warning is in effect for Lagunas de Chachua to Punta Maldonado. A hurricane warning means that hurricane conditions are expected somewhere within the warning area, in this case within the next 12 hours or so. A hurricane watch means that the hurricane conditions are possible within a watch area, in this case within the next 12 hours. And then there's tropical storm warnings. There's also the tropical storm condition that would be in effect for these areas as well, even if you do not experience hurricane wind force winds. So to reiterate, a hurricane warning is in effect for Punta Maldonado westward to Zihuatanejo, and from Lagunas de Chacagua to Punta Maldonado.
I believe I found the location for this webcam. I do believe it's on the eastern side of the shore. So that's more up near the Dreams Acapulco Resort and Spa. If you know where that is, I believe it's in that area. I do believe that's where this webcam is currently showing us the conditions as this dangerous Category 5 hurricane approaches, with winds of 165 miles per hour. This is an extremely dangerous and life-threatening hurricane. Is Otis one of the fastest rapid intensification that has ever occurred in this basin? Yes. It's up there with Patricia and Hova earlier this year. Of course, Patricia back in 2015. This is a really good question. How do these guys do any last-minute preparations for a Category 5 monster that they barely expected for a tropical storm or Category 1 yesterday. I can't imagine the panic right now. The panic is probably pretty severe there. Um, it's a bit unclear exactly how badly they are preparing, or how badly or how serious they are taking this storm. But I do hope that they're taking it with the utmost and I guess you should say, or stern uh, amount of seriousness. This is a life-threatening hurricane. This area of Mexico, or all of the Pacific coastline of Mexico, has never experienced a hurricane this strong. Even operationally, Patricia was tied for this hurricane. They have never experienced a hurricane this strong before. If you have any comments or questions, send those on to the comment section down below. We'll answer those in due course. Someone asking us, what is our landfall expectation? Probably right now, it's probably its current intensity, probably 165 miles per hour. Still some room for it to intensify a little bit more. We'll have to wait and see. It truly is just a downcast situation where we're just playing it by ear, and that's going to be pretty much the trend up until landfall. To repeat, the National Hurricane Center's update at past top of the hour: potentially catastrophic Category 5 Hurricane Otis still strengthening as it nears the coastline of southern Mexico. Recent satellite data indicate that Otis continues to strengthen. The maximum sustained winds are now estimated to be near 165 miles per hour with higher gusts. Otis is an extremely powerful and dangerous Category 5 hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson with hurricane wind scale, and Otis is forecast to remain a Category 5 hurricane through landfall overnight. Per the National Hurricane Center update, the storm was located at 16.3 degrees north, 99.7 degrees west, or 45 miles south-southeast of Acapulco, moving north-northwest at 9 miles per hour. If you have any comments or questions, you can send them to the comment section down below. We'll answer those in due course. Be sure to tag us at 413. It'll light up nice and bright for us. Do you have any more thoughts on this extremely dangerous hurricane, Orlando?
Yeah, at this point, it's just watching it as things happen and unfold. Unfortunately, it's the late night hours, so most preparation should be almost completed, if not already. Um, Even though there probably wasn't even that much preparation to begin with. And that's honestly the most unfortunate thing about this, how quickly things like this happen, that us as people that deal with weather forecasting and trying to be informants of weather in the future or even the near future can sometimes not have the resources to get things right. And as a result, we're in a situation like this where everything's on all hands on deck and you just have to write it out to somebody that's just living there. There's nothing else you can do.
Well, how warm are these season temperatures right now under Otis? Just give me just a few minutes, or just a minute or two, and I'll have that data for you. I believe these season temperatures, are around 30 to maybe 29 to 30 degrees, I believe, right now.
It's 30 to 30.5.
I'm just looking now. Season temperatures, here we go. Yeah, maybe around 30 to 31 degrees in that vicinity.
Yeah, which is pretty much as high as you can get unless you're in like the Persian Gulf. So that just goes to show, even at this time of year, even in October, there's portions of the world that still have water that are this warm. Western Pacific, the Caribbean, the Eastern Pacific, known areas for activity like this, especially producing Category 5 hurricanes in the month of October, and even very quickly intensifying Category 5 hurricanes in the month of October. However, what makes this one unique is the fact that it achieved it in less than a day.
Yeah, this one
Basically half a day.
basically people woke up with this storm being a high-end tropical storm, and now they probably went to bed with a Category 4 and not even knowing that the storm was upgraded to Category 5 overnight.
Another thing is that as well, there might be people that are in the region that have did everything they could and just decided to sleep, not knowing that it's just going to keep getting worse and worse.
Yeah,
It's going to
this
be a rough
is.
night for Acapulco.
Yeah, certainly will be. How did it intensify this fast? Primarily because wind shear was forecast to be um, a bit higher than what it ended up being, and as such, that led to a more rapid intensification phase. When you consider the season temperatures were very warm and weren't going to be an issue for this storm, um, and as well as the ocean heat content was pretty good, and this hurricane was a very small size. Small hurricanes tend to have very rapid changes in intensity, and of course, this hurricane is no different. If you have any comments or questions, just send them down in the comments section down below. We'll answer those in due course. How does Otis's rapid strengthening phase compare to some recent storms like Hova and Lee, and even Patricia? Um, it's a bit hard to say exactly. Reanalysis will need to see just how strong this hurricane gets. It's still intensifying at this time, and I would probably wait and see what reanalysis says personally at the end of this hurricane season and maybe into early next year, and then we'll have a definitive answer just to how fast this hurricane intensified compared to hurricanes Hova and Lee. Personally, I think Hova is a little bit stronger than what the officials estimates. We'll have to wait and see though what reanalysis says for this historic and very notable Eastern Pacific hurricane season so far. 8 major hurricanes so far this season. What is the current wind speeds in Acapulco? I'm not exactly sure what the wind speeds in Acapulco are right now. I'll check my weather app here on my phone and we'll see what they say. So this is my raw reaction right now. Um, this is, let's see what they have. Where is it? Wind speeds look like right now at northeast at 31 miles per hour. So that's the latest wind speed right now in Acapulco. Do we think that there will be a large number of fatalities from Otis? I sure hope not. Just to reiterate, this is an extremely dangerous hurricane and is capable of producing catastrophic to complete damage in low-lying areas. This hurricane has 1 minute sustained wind speeds of 165 miles per hour, which is 270 kilometers per hour, and a pressure of 923 millibars. This is an extremely powerful Category 5 hurricane closing in on the city of Acapulco. That webcam continues to load, unfortunately, but it is having a panoramic view there over the Bay of Acapulco. Coming back to the satellite imagery here, we'll go and we'll get a distance from the city of Acapulco here. We'll get a distance update from the center of the hurricane. These numbers are probably a few minutes out of date, and it looks to be around 35 miles to the south-southeast. It is extremely likely that the city of Acapulco gets the full northeastern eye wall and the full brunt of this historic hurricane. So if you are in Acapulco, you need to be seeking shelter immediately. How high do we think this storm surge will be? If I had to guess, by around 15 feet. What do you think, Orlando?
15 feet. I think that's a fair call. I'm not sure exactly, provided at least in the Acapulco Bay, how that would perform, even despite the small size of Otis. There could be room for higher. It really just depends on the angle this thing comes in, whether it's towards the east, west, or dead center. It's going to affect the surge going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Continue to send in your comments down below. Be sure to tag us at Force13. It'll be very helpful if you do that. It is Otis stronger than Hova because National Contender has estimated that it is stronger. Probably officially, but of course unofficially. Personally, I believe Hova is a little bit stronger than what Otis is right now, but Otis is still intensifying, so we'll have to wait and see just how strong this hurricane gets. Is it possible that Otis reaches wind speeds of 180 miles per hour? I think it has the time to do it, just barely. It's going to be a very strong feat. But if I had to guess, probably 175 is going to be the storm's peak. If it gets there, of course. It has to get there first. The eye temperature looks to be hovering around -5 degrees Celsius now. So this eye has continued to warm and continue to increase as it pushes off towards the northeast. Going back to the webcam at Acapulco, Isaac, I believe that particular webcam actually is in Chile, I believe. So if you can go back to the other one, that would be useful for us. Not sure if he's here, but we'll go back to the satellite imagery here. Of course, the eye wall is rapidly approaching here. I'll circle the rough location of the eye wall here. This is just a rough estimate. We don't exactly know just how wide this eye wall is. But distance from Acapulco, just maybe 10 miles offshore and closing fast. So if you are in Acapulco, time is literally running out for you to prepare for this extremely dangerous eye wall that is approaching the city right now. Full force of this Category 5 hurricane will arrive soon in Acapulco. If you have any comments or questions, send us down in the comment section down below. We'll answer those in due course. Any thoughts on how strong this hurricane can get, Orlando?
Honestly, I'd put the cap at I'd like to say 175. 175 seems safe. I mean, it's continued to intensify. The only thing that I can say stops it is land interaction, but even at this point, it doesn't seem like it's doing much. It really is just, it's gonna be difficult. I mean, regardless of what, it's already reached that point. It's crossed a red line where anything that's in its way will face destruction at this point, and it's not hyperbole to say it like that. 165-mile-per-hour winds compared to 175-mile-per-hour winds. Either way, whatever's in the way is going to be in ruins.
Yeah, it's very difficult to survive the eye wall of a Category 5 hurricane. It's very difficult to. Did we expect Otis to be this strong?
Can you hear
Nobody
me?
really did. Yes, we can. Is that Corgi?
Hold on. My mic isn't working, or my headset isn't working. Let me fix
Okay.
it real quick.
We can hear you, though. Just want to let you know if you can hear us. Will Acapulco suffer from landslides? Probably. The mountainous regions will probably suffer from landslides at this point, if not already.
Okay. My mic is working, so hi.
Welcome
It's
aboard, Corgi.
Corgi. Oh, hello. Sorry. I just thought I'd join because, this is kind of an insane, catastrophic situation unfolding. So, we're reading comments right now, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Do you mind if I read a few comments real quick?
Sure, but one thing to go over here real quick.
Okay.
Josh Morgan, a very known hurricane chaser, I guess you could say, in the community here, has tweeted out, if Hurricane Otis hits Acapulco head on, it will be the first time since 1979 that a Category 5 hurricane directly impacted such a large city. Back then, that was Hurricane David, smashed Santo Domingo, with estimated wind speeds of 175 miles per hour. So, a city of 1 million people has not received this big of an impact since 1979.
This is literally insane.
This is historic. This is
I
something that probably most people have never seen since.
I have to comment on that. Take into consideration how when Hurricane David happened, my father was 9 years old. I am 15. I am currently 15. My father was 9 years old, and he is around like 53 now. So it's just insane how long this has happened. But this is a truly catastrophic situation unfolding right now for pretty much everyone in the Acapulco and surrounding areas. And if this does make a head-on Category 5 landfall, then just full-blown cataclysmic damage could occur throughout the entire city of Acapulco. A huge humanitarian crisis could occur. I'm not saying it's not impossible, but this is just a huge, extremely crazy and extremely saddening situation unfolding as of right now. Were you going to say something?
I was. Isaac has got a webcam up that's looking directly into, or it's looking off towards the west, but that is in Acapulco. And you can see down here at the bottom of your screen, where that button just came over. Thanks, button. But you can see the wave action. Look at how far those waves are coming on shore. I'm not sure if you can get audio going for this, Isaac. But that would be nice if you could. Without your stream audio on. I don't know if this webcam has audio.
I do not hear anything, so...
No, it doesn't sound like it, unfortunately. That is really unfortunate. How much damage do you think this hurricane will cause? It's a bit unclear. We'll have to wait for the exact impacts. We'll see how much damage it will be, or the cost of this hurricane probably in a few months.
Yeah. Although I do have to say that if I have to give a ballpark estimate, I would say that this could definitely be over $1 billion in damages, considering how large of a city Acapulco is and how intense the hurricane is. And this isn't like Patricia of 2015, where it hit more of a sparsely populated area. This is more like Stan of 2005, except much stronger, in the sense that it's hitting a densely populated area with a large population size. And so this could do major impacts to the region, which is very unfortunate, to say the least.
Someone's asking us how much damage did Norma cost. I don't believe Norma was that bad. I'll look here real quick. Norma hit a much sparsely populated area than this. This is going into a full city with 1 million plus people, the full eyewall is.
Yes.
And of course, Norma went into a very sparsely populated area. Norma's damage at this time looks to be set at unknown. So we do not know.
Yeah.
Same for Lydia, by the way.
Yeah, same for Lydia. Damage is still unknown, although it did hit a little bit less sparsely populated of an area, but it was still major damage. Or I mean, moderate damage. Let's see. What sort of hurricane do we think we can compare to what damage Otis will cause? Was asked by the Austro-Hungarian Empire. I'm gonna be honest here. I do not really know. I will say that this could be comparable to. To be honest, I don't even know what this could be comparable to. This could be sort of similar to, I mean, the best comparison I can think of off the top of my head. I know this probably isn't a good one, but Iniki, because of how it just kind of blew up and hit a densely populated area, and semi-densely populated, in that case being the island of Kauai. So, and it became one of the costliest hurricanes on record. So in the Eastern Pacific. So I mean, that could probably be one of the better comparisons, but this doesn't really have too many other comparisons because of how rare this happens. But as shown by this season, things are likely going to get worse, sadly.
Yep, things are going to get very, very worse very quickly on this live camera. The eyewall is rapidly approaching the city right now. Would Otis destroy the economy of the region as it is a popular tourist area? I think it's going to be significantly impacted for a long time. Are we thinking of Madeline of 1976 as an analog? I'm not entirely sure where Madeline came on shore at. That's the thing.
Let me do a little Google search real quick.
I'm Google searching myself, actually.
Yeah, but so from Hurricane Madeline, so from 1976, it made landfall near it made landfall near Zihuatanejo in Mexico, and it caused $200 million in damages, which is, it's more towards the west of here. And however, Hurricane Madeline did was weaker in terms of wind speed and barometric pressure. I believe, I'm not 100% sure on the pressure part, at its landfall. So it did cause major damage, but it probably won't be as bad as what Hurricane Otis could do, sadly.
Yeah, I really do think that things are going to be pretty bad for this historic hurricane.
Yeah. I don't want to sugarcoat this or anything because I mean, I understand that, it's a good thing. It's good to try and make people feel calm about situations and, not make them feel like panicking or everything. But at the same time, it's not a good idea to try and sugarcoat everything and, make everything seem better than it is. But because I'm just going to put it here, this is a dire situation that is currently unfolding in Acapulco at this time, and irreversible damage could occur to areas in Acapulco, which could severely damage the city itself. Which I do hope that evacuations are being done as we speak. I do not have info on if evacuations are being done, but I don't know yet.
Thank you for the
Yeah, at
$2
this
super
point.
chat, John Bella. We appreciate your contribution, saying great work. Thank you. We appreciate that. More damage than Willa in 2018. I'm pretty sure that it will cause more damage than Willa personally.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
we'll have to wait and see just how bad the damage will be.
Something that I've noticed interesting, at least on the webcam, it seems as though you can observe rip currents going on currently. The surf, even though it doesn't seem as intense at the moment, there's definitely some rip currents evident.
Palm trees aren't really swaying that much. They might be in a little bit of a lull at this point. Wind speed is going to rapidly increase, and I think that it's going to be giving a few people a false alarm and saying, hey, this hurricane isn't going to happen because wind speeds aren't going to be that bad. Trust me when I say this. This hurricane is going to make a rapid increase in the wind speed. It is a small hurricane. It's not a big one like Norma or like Lydia was. The core of this hurricane is a lot smaller than those two. So the wind speed is going to increase very quickly, very fast. And it's going to be a very sudden increase from tropical storm force winds to boom, you're in the eye wall and you're getting Category 5 conditions.
I will say that it is quite disappointing what the models have expected with this. Although, to be fair, I mean, nobody expected a Category 5 to come out of this system. Personally, when I first saw it, I was, watching one of Force 13's weather outlook thingies, and I forgot the name of it, but or tropical weather bulletin, sorry. But I was watching one of those, and it like a few days ago for the longer range, it had a very weak system appear in the Eastern Pacific, which is now Otis, and I was just like, oh, that's just going to be another sad system. As at first, I thought it was going to just be a tropical depression, and then eventually it did become a tropical storm on the model runs. But soon enough, this just blows up into a Category 5. None of the models, and I can assure you that almost nobody here expected this sort of intensification to occur from it. Yes, wind shear and water temperatures are optimal for this system to continue to intensify until it makes landfall, but just nobody, I can assure you, almost nobody here expected this sort of intensification and strength from this system. This is just very very concerning.
Absolutely. A question here. Will Otis, by wind speed and barometric pressure, be the most intense strike in Mexico that we know of? Wind speed, probably. Pressure, I'll get to that stat here in just a second. Otis is the second Category 5 in the East Pack and the ninth Category 5 worldwide. Thoughts? Probably. If I had to guess, there's still probably some wiggle room for one more Cat 5 this year. We'll have to wait and see. Let's hope no one tries to swim or sail during the storm. I don't think people will. At this point, most residents need to be seeking shelter, and I think most people are. Power still looks to be on in Acapulco, but I don't think that'll be for very long.
Yeah. I'm very surprised that Acapulco is already not suffering any sort of like wind damage or um, any damages so far from this system because just looking at it just the storm, it just looks like it's barreling towards the city itself, and I'm surprised that power is still on. Just kind of insane how the city isn't already starting to experience very adverse effects. Although sadly, that is likely not going to stand true as a statement for much longer.
Absolutely. A bit unclear if the National Hurricane Center will be doing an update statement at top of the hour. We'll have to wait and see what they do. But of course, this hurricane, as far as we know, is still intensifying right now. There's some lightning on the webcam as we talk about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is just insane.
Right, getting to that barometric pressure stat. Officially, the most intense landfall ever recorded in the Eastern Pacific is 932 millibars, and that was with Patricia. There might be a little bit stronger landfalls that I'm completely missing out on, but that's what the NHC has for Patricia's landfall, 932, and here we are at 923. So at least that record might be beaten, but of course we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see how strong this hurricane actually is at landfall.
Yeah, totally agree. I was still, looking at. I mean, I just, figured out that National Hurricane Center went with 165 miles an hour and a pressure of 923 millibars, which I should have looked sooner. But I was just assuming that they might have, gone a bit lower with the system. But I am glad that they did, that they are going with the Category 5 with the system, as they have been known to lowball some systems in the past. I mean, I'm not going to, get into too many examples, but I'm just, glad that the National Hurricane Center is claiming it to be a Category 5, and just I just hope that, they issue more warnings and watches with the system and get people to safety and just make sure that everyone is okay after this system.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Orlando.
I was gonna say, yeah, the Mexican government is gonna have themselves a handful after this situation. The aftermath is probably going to be very catastrophic for somebody.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Please continue to send in your questions. Be sure to tag us at Force13. It'll light up nice and bright and orange for us. Will the National Hurricane Center update at top of the hour? It's a bit unclear if they will or not. We'll have to wait and see, though. What do we think about all the surprises this year? Well, if I had five words to say, I'm sick and tired of it.
I agree.
That was
I'm
that
sorry.
was six.
Oh,
That was 6 words, not five.
yeah. Well, let's just say that that's 5 words because why not? Math is out the window here. But like all logic is basically out the window here with this year so far. Quite interesting how this is my first year of fully tracking tropical cyclones, but this year is totally an unforgettable one. We've had a Category 5 in every major basin, as well as multiple surprises, and of course, we've had multiple very notable systems, such as like Doksuri, and of course, Hillary, and as well as now Otis. This season is just not letting up, and I can't rule out
Ooh, was that a
more.
power flash? I think that might have been a power
Might have
flash on
been,
the webcam, I believe.
might have been. I mean, most of the city is still lit up, which is good, but this could be, you know, it could quickly go dark because don't know how much more the power grid can sustain until uh the city just goes dark because of how bad this storm is going to be with this just with how much Otis is doing.
Absolutely.
Um
Could this storm rival ODL 2014 in terms of damage? We'll have to wait and see on that. Storm surge incoming, and so is the rain, is the story of the hour for the city of Acapulco. Category 5 Hurricane Otis with winds of 165 miles per hour is approaching quite rapidly. Latest indications per my imagery that I have here, the eye wall, or at least the center of the storm, is 30 miles to the south-southeast of Acapulco. The eye wall is probably around 10 miles away and closing fast.
We can see that the ocean is starting to pick up in terms of waves. If you look at it, you can see that there's. I don't know if this is just me, but that structure for the waves is looking a bit like unusual per se because of the wind that's starting to affect the city. This might just be me. Let's see. Low Better 21 said, "What would be a good analog storm in terms of how fast it intensified?" I honestly have to say, really, this is like kind of a sort of like a version of Patricia, honestly, except it isn't getting, of course, it isn't getting up to 200 miles an hour, no, but it is intensifying very, very, very rapidly. And earlier today, it was just like a category 2. But if I'm not wrong, but now it's a category 5, and this is just kind of insane how fast this is intensifying. Wilma is also a good example, as pointed out by Vincent Lee.
Wilma's a good example as well, but if you're wanting an example this close to land, probably Patricia will do it, probably.
Mm-hmm. Although Wilma did intensify very rapidly towards land as well, but then again, both of them did weaken considerably before making their landfalls in both in Mexico, I believe. Interestingly, on the opposite sides of Mexico. So, quite interesting how Mexico has dealt with multiple storms which have explosively intensified and then weakened before making landfall. Although in this case, it's quite saddening that Otis is likely not going to weaken that much compared to Patricia, where it weakened from a 215. I think that's what the official estimates are going with. We go with like 205 or 210. I can't remember, but it weakened from like a 205 mile an hour category 5 to a 150 something mile an hour category 4 before landfall, which is just not what's going to happen with this storm. It might weaken down to a category 4 before landfall, but it very well could still be a category 5 at landfall, which is just a very desperate situation unfolding right now.
Power's still on in Acapulco. It's only a matter of time before it goes out, I think, unfortunately.
We could be seeing the power just flicker and then just kind of turn black in the next few minutes, unfortunately.
Someone's asking us here, wave vision in the trees. Also, what is the tornado risk? I'm not entirely sure, but I imagine it's not that great.
Yeah.
Has there been reports of boats in the area, or it may have, or that have they gone missing? I'm not entirely sure what the reports or what the conditions are with all the boats in the area. I haven't seen anything personally.
Yeah. A lot of you have been asking, will the name Otis be retired? I personally do believe that if the Eastern Pacific, I don't want to go on a tangent here, of course, but the Eastern Pacific hasn't been the best with retiring names sometimes. Notable example being how it didn't retire the name Agatha, despite it causing over $1 billion in damages. But let's not get sidetracked here. I do believe that the name Otis could very well get retired, assuming that the damage proves to be severe enough, which looking at it could very well happen regarding this storm. So it's very possible that the name could be retired.
Ooh.
But
was that a big power flash, I think?
Maybe. Although power is still on, so but maybe. I mean, yeah, transformers are starting to flicker a bit, so
I'm just watching back the No, that was absolutely a transformer going. I just watched it back
Mm-hmm.
on my phone. That was absolutely a transformer going somewhere over
Mm-hmm.
here.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly the wind speeds are increasing. You can see those palm trees on the left-hand side are starting to sway more. So it's probably getting up to the strong tropical storm force. And the eye wall is probably just mere minutes away from this location. You'll
Yeah.
you'll see it live here on Force 13
Whoa.
live here in just a
Whoa.
few
Did
minutes.
you just see that?
I did not.
There was a huge flash of light that just happened. That just happened, and uh I don't know how to explain it, but like there was just a huge a huge flash of light that just happened. It could have been another transformer popping or blowing or something, but um yeah, we can see that it's starting to get
Oh
noticeably
wow.
darker.
Yeah,
Um
noticeably darker. Rainfall rates are increasing. The eye wall of this hurricane is coming onshore right now. This is a Category 5 hurricane eye wall moving onshore right now.
this is a catastrophic and extremely detrimental situation to Mexico unfolding right now, and currently this could very well be a life-threatening situation. In fact, this is a life-threatening situation for anybody currently living in Mexico, in um in Acapulco and the greater Acapulco area, as well as Guerrero. Sorry. And this could very well prove to be um, a extremely terrible situation for the region. I am surprised that wind damage isn't greater as we're looking at it right now. However, this palm trees could very well begin to be swaying violently and breaking. Um, so um, I'm surprised that there isn't already greater damage occurring, but considering, how this is kind of a small system that isn't out of the that isn't out of the ordinary, but looking at it in like maybe the next like 10 to 20 minutes, we could be seeing like very terrible damage occurring from the eye wall.
At this point, the small town of Barra Vieja along the coastline east of Acapulco at this point is getting the eye wall of this hurricane. The eye wall right now is moving onshore areas east of Acapulco, and I imagine Acapulco itself will be getting the eye wall here in just a few minutes. If you are in Acapulco, you have minutes to seek shelter. If you know anyone in this area that is going to be affected by this hurricane already, if not imminently, please tell them to take shelter immediately. Call them if I know that's late at night. It's almost midnight here. It's just an hour until I believe it's about to become midnight actually in here just a few minutes. Um, so if you know anyone in these areas, I beg you, please let them know of this extremely dangerous hurricane. This is historic. Nothing like this has
Hmm.
ever been felt in this part of the world.
Exactly. And also for anyone currently in Acapulco or the greater Guerrero State coastline, immediately, as Ethan said, tell anyone who is currently, tell all of your relatives to get inside immediately. Get to, if you have a basement, go inside your basement. If not, go to the lowest floor of your house, go to the innermost, part of your house, I believe, which is away from windows or, the siding of your house, as windows can easily blow in and glass could get everywhere. So please get to the most internal and safest part of your house, and stay there until warnings and watches have been lifted for the system, and when authorities consider it safe to do so. I repeat, get into the safest part of your house. This is an extremely catastrophic situation unfolding for anybody viewing us from Acapulco. Just do not take this situation lightly. Even if damage is less than expected, do not risk it. You do not want to put your life at risk for this storm.
Absolutely. If you have any comments or questions, please send them down in the comment section down below. Be sure to tag us at Force13. It'll light up nice and bright for us. Latest satellite image indicate that the eye is still 30 miles to the south-southeast Although that's probably a little bit out of date. If I had to guess, it's probably around 25 to 20 nautical miles away now. The eye wall that's extremely dangerous Category 5 hurricane is mere minutes away from striking the city of Acapulco. You'll see it with us here live on Force 13. Stay tuned. It'll be coming here in just a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people asking about storm surge forecast. It's a bit unclear just exactly how much storm surge is forecast with this hurricane. But if I had to guess, 15 feet plus in the landfall area.
Mm-hmm.
How long until landfall? If I had to guess, maybe 3 hours, around there. Give plus or minus, say, 2 hours for some wiggle room.
Mm-hmm. Actually, do not go into your basement. As I stated earlier, that was actually, that was accidentally false information, as pointed out, by a person in the comment section. So that is an error that I made. Instead, as I said, go into the most interior room of your house, away from any doors or windows, as those can be easily blown
Update
in.
from the National Hurricane Center. Eye wall, a potentially catastrophic Category 5 hurricane Otis moving ashore near Acapulco, Mexico. 12 a.m. position update. Satellite imagery indicates that the eye wall, a potentially catastrophic hurricane Otis, is moving ashore the southern coast of Mexico near Acapulco. Maximum sustained winds are estimated to be near 165, not 175, 165 miles per hour with higher gusts. Otis is a Category 5 hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson scale. That's meant to repeat from copy and paste pretty much. And Otis is forecast to remain a Category 5 hurricane through landfall within the next few hours. 165 miles per hour is what they say at this update statement, and a pressure of 923 millibars, moving north-northwest at 9. That's the latest from the National Hurricane Center at top of the hour, just now. Another lightning flash on the webcam. Sorry, I interrupted you, Corey.
No, it's okay.
Another question here. Have there been any other storms to have affected this area in the recent years? If so, what is some information from those storms that could be useful for surviving this landfall? I'm not really sure, to be honest. I'm not really sure of a powerful hurricane making landfall in these areas. I think it's been a hot minute for Acapulco to get the direct eye wall of a hurricane. I think it's been a hot minute.
Mm-hmm. As HG said, why not going into a basement on a tropical storm? Flooding risk? Yes, definitely. I personally believe that the most, like, the riskiest part about this is definitely the flooding, as if you're as if water gets into your home, then if you go onto the lowest most area of your home, then I was getting a little bit confused with tornadoes, because I personally, as a Californian, do not know. I mean, I have not experienced a hurricane. Well, technically I have with Tropical Storm Hillary, but what I mean is that I haven't experienced tropical cyclones or tornadoes, so I did get a bit confused for a second. But the best thing to do during a tropical storm or hurricane is to not go into your basement, because if the water gets into your house, then the lowest point will be the easiest point where you can drown. And so I'm not trying to sugarcoat it here. Do not go to the lowest point of your house.
That's some very good advice, and the best thing to do in a hurricane like this is be as low to the ground as you can, with some wiggle room above you, of course, if you need to go up there for storm surge, and don't be out in the open.
Exactly. If you are caught in the open during a hurricane, the best thing to do is stay away from balconies or elevated areas to avoid falling objects. Avoid roadways and train tracks when on foot, as gusts can blow people into the path of oncoming vehicles. Under no circumstances should you be near, I would say, be at least 10 to 20 feet away from power lines, as they can easily become downed, which can electrocute you, which is one of the most common ways of people being killed by tropical cyclones, aside from the storm surge. So do not, under any circumstances, go near power lines if you are caught outside.
Yeah, this is an extremely dangerous situation. The eye wall of this extremely dangerous Category 5 hurricane, as I've been saying, is mere minutes away from striking Acapulco. The northeastern eye wall is onshore to the east of Acapulco and is completely obliterating, or at least doing catastrophic damage to the city, I forgot its name already, of Barra Vieja.
I can only just hope for the best for the people living in I just can only feel extreme sorrow for the people living in the Acapulco and Barra Vieja areas, because even though I myself have only experienced Tropical Storm Hillary, which caused only heavy rain, no damage to where I live, I can still resonate with the people. My father was in the eye of Hurricane Eloise in 1975, and so I do have some family members who have been caught in hurricanes before, but I just wanted to just say that anybody living in Acapulco or near that city, I wish you the best, and please stay safe during this extremely catastrophic event currently unfolding.
Once again, if you do have any comments or questions, send those down in the comment section down below. Please tag us at Force13. It'll light up nice and bright for us. I know we get a lot of questions on these kind of situations with these Category 5s, and I'm doing my best to answer them all.
Let's see. Let's see. What other let's see. So okay, Low Better 21 said, at Force 13, will there be large flooding across the La Sabana River? Possibly, if the storm surge does become severe enough, then there could definitely be some flooding across that river, as river deltas are one of the most, if not the most, prone areas of storm surge for tropical cyclones. So that definitely could be an issue. However, I wouldn't put that as the main priority. I would put the priority as the city of Acapulco itself, as that is going to be the area which faces the most severe damage from this tropical cyclone.
Right now, per the National Hurricane Center, this storm has maximum sustained winds of 165 miles per hour, 270 kilometers per hour, 1 minute sustained winds, and a pressure of 923 millibars, with gusts up to now 200 miles per hour.
This is extremely catastrophic situation currently happening. I have said that
this looks to be the outer edge of the eye wall now, moving into Acapulco right now on this webcam. This is an extremely dangerous situation, and if you are in Acapulco, we can only hope that you are in shelter at this point. If you're not, get to one immediately.
If you are caught outside, get to a shelter immediately. That is your number one priority. Do not do anything else. If you have belongings that are holding you back, just forget those belongings. Just get inside. That is the best thing to do in these types of situations, as wind damage can severely impact you, and these things are very deadly to people. Storm surge is the number one killer in terms of hurricanes, although that for the 95% of the time. And so when the flooding starts to kick in, you know that you need right now to get into shelter. Even if you don't see any flooding so far, you should get into shelter.
Unfortunate news here. The eye temperature has reached positives.
I am still relatively new, so could you inform me on what that means again?
Still intensifying.
Oh my god, this is I cannot comprehend this. this has been my first year, but I've already gone through Mawar, Mocha, and Idalia, Duxbury, just all of these terrible storms that have ravaged the world this year, and it's not ending. It's I'm just so sorry for anybody in Acapulco or near there. I really hope that you manage to come out okay of this situation, because of course I've never been in like a hurricane proper, but I can just imagine how terrifying a situation like this must be.
Absolutely. This hurricane is, at least in terms of eye temperature, is still continuing to intensify. We'll have to wait and see if the National Hurricane Center bumps up the intensity estimate a little bit more. It's only a matter of time before this hurricane makes landfall. Uh, at least still, indications are that this hurricane is still intensifying. Latest update went with 165 miles per hour. Of course, there is still some wiggle room that it could still intensify. This hurricane is still a few hours away from landfall, and the northeastern eye wall is once again on shore.
Looking at the satellite photo, I am still quite concerned how you say that this is like multiple hours away from landfall, but it looks already that it's almost at landfall, unless the storm is extremely slow and stalls when making landfall. I don't see this making landfall in the next 6 hours. I could see this maybe making landfall in like the next 2 hours personally, although if it does stall, then it will have a greater chance of weakening due to land interaction. But just looking at that one satellite imagery, you can see how that almost looks like an annular hurricane, to be honest. Just looking at that just like the banding, like brightness of the hurricane, you can see it looks very, very, just very eerie.
It is pretty eerie on this webcam. How much rainfall is forecast to occur at Lomas de San Juan, north of Acapulco? I'm not sure exactly on locations, but I know that the National Hurricane Center is between 10 to 15 inches, with isolated higher amounts of 20. So I imagine it's not going to be that far away from that ballpark. Will it stall over the city like Dorian? No, it's going to continue to move inland.
Yeah, and thankfully models are I haven't seen the latest models. However, from what I have seen, the storm is likely going to pull a Patricia or Willa in terms of how it rapidly weakens upon making landfall, and so impacts won't be long lasting like Dorian. However, impacts, even like as in like just directly sustained impacts, won't be as long lasting as storms such as Dorian or Katrina, but could still deliver very heavy damage even if it doesn't stay around for too long.
It's very interesting to watch in this webcam here, actually, because I'll switch back over to the satellite imagery here. You can see here is the town of Acapulco, and with hurricanes in the that's a L, by the way, with hurricanes in the northern hemisphere, they spin counterclockwise, of course. So that means that right now in Acapulco, the flow right now is offshore. So it's going to be very interesting to watch this water here. You can see this water line here that is constantly making. You notice that it is struggling to reach inland, or struggling to reach this line at times. So maybe this flow is still offshore, and I'd be very worried once we get into the eye wall of this. I think that it's going to be a situation kind of like Hurricane Ike in 2008 in Galveston, where as Ike was coming in, the damage wasn't that bad, but on the backside was where the worst of the damage happened.
Exactly.
Because Ike had a less of a land interaction, because of course the onshore flow was mainly after the eye wall had made landfall.
I agree. If you I'm still very surprised that power hasn't fully gone out, but I do, however, when you do look at the live camera, you can see that the tide is starting to get pulled out more and more, which is the sign that a severe hurricane is going to impact it soon. And I don't know what that is, but it looks as if there is something. I do not know if that is water or fire or what that is, but if you take a look on the left side of the live camera, you can see something. Sort of. It could just be the light, just which is of course like being pulled by the wind, but I'm not really sure what it could be. But
I have a question here. Due to how thin the Central America region is, will there be a possibility that the storm crosses over into the Gulf of Mexico and potentially cause more damage in the Gulf regions? No. This is going to move into a very mountainous area of Mexico. I'd be more concerned with a potential another hurricane impacting these regions with the remnants of 21L from the Atlantic in say a week or so. That's another problem that these potential these people might have to deal with in these regions.
The Eastern Pacific has been. I'm going to be honest here. The Eastern Pacific has been somewhat of kind of an anomaly this season. We've had what is it? We've had like so far at least two I believe two major landfalling systems. We've had a like tropical storm inside of California. We've had multiple landfalls in a row. We've had so far somewhat below average activity. It could be just neutral activity, but it's looking to be slightly it's looking to be similar to what 2020 is, except much more impactful with multiple notable storms. Adrian, the latest forming first Eastern Pacific tropical cyclone on record since I don't remember since like the last time a tropical cyclone formed that late. And of course Dora helping to create the major wildfires in Hawaii. Oh, there's another transformer that just burst. But very
It's my graphic
crazy
on
season.
the stream. But of course, the eye wall still is just mere minutes away from striking Acapulco. So I think this webcam won't be with us here in say about 30 minutes to an hour. Let's hope it stays. Let's hope it stays on through the eye wall. Only time will tell. Is there an estimate of the diameter of the eye? I can get that for you real quick. Eye diameter still looks to be around maybe 10 miles wide.
At low better 21. At force 13, will Otis damage or destroy the road infrastructure that leads to Acapulco, making it harder to bring aid? I cannot say whether that will happen or not, although looking at it, not extremely likely that it will happen, but it is possible that aid could be harder to bring in, although it's possible that aid brought in by land could be hampered from the storm's effects, and cleanup from the storm and damage control from the storm could take weeks to redo because of how catastrophic the storm's impacts are looking, sadly.
Is there any signs of an eye wall poison cycle right now, or any really sort of weakening? There is a little bit of sign of weakening, primarily due to the eye filling in and cloud tops decreasing, but that's probably due to the mountainous areas of Mexico or downsloping now affecting the storm as it's pretty close to land now. I expect that's going to be the primary inhibitor now moving forward for this hurricane.
Ethan, I do actually have a question for you. What do you project the landfall intensity of the storm to be in terms of wind speed? Do you think it will?
At this point, I don't expect much weakening prior to landfall. I think it's going to make landfall at this point as a Category 5. This is a question of which wind speed. My guess is probably the current one, 165. We'll have to wait and see just how strong or just how weak it comes whenever it's inland. But the big thing is it's pretty much at this point to make landfall with winds at least of 150 miles an hour. Of course, it's way up at 165 now. Category 5 landfall at this point is becoming more and more likely by the minute. There is still some signs, or there is still some wiggle room that this could make landfall as a high in Category 4. There is still some room for that. But the strongest landfall ever recorded in the Eastern Pacific is about to be broken or is about to be tied here in just a few hours.
Mm-hmm.
And we're about to witness it here live on Force 13.
Mm-hmm. This is definitely. This feels unreal, if I'm being honest here. I have had a lot of major events happen in my life recently within the past few days, but I was not expecting a possible Category 5 landfall in Mexico to be one of them. I do not. I just. It's kind of insane how many surprises this year has had for us in terms of tropical cyclones, and I do feel like that there will continue to be a streak of surprises and more powerful storms than average or higher activity as set by the Atlantic in terms of it surprising us as we're already at Tammy and we could be nearing the auxiliary list very realistically by the end of the season, as we still have all of November to have tropical cyclone activity, and of course the models have shown that there could be a chance of another tropical cyclone forming in the longer range, which of course would be given the name Vince, but I do not know what will happen in the future, but I can assure you, all of you watching, that this isn't going to be extremely uncommon anymore, as it's just latest, trends have been showing that storms have been getting a bit more intense.
Absolutely. If you do have any comments or questions, please send those down in the comment section down below. We'll answer those in due course. We are still mere minutes away. It's a bit unclear exactly what time the winds will pick up on the web camera, but I expect it is mere minutes away. Another big lightning flash there on the webcam. I believe Orlando's back with us now. I'm not sure if he's here or not.
Yes.
Welcome back. What are your thoughts on this extremely dangerous hurricane now with wind speeds of 165 miles per hour since you left?
It's just frustrating. I was really hoping there was some type of silver lining. I was looking at I guess, a display that had a terrible angle of land on satellite imagery with IR. It had the center more to the east with a less populated epicenter if it did make landfall there. However, it is become apparent to me that it is actually still en route for the Acapulco Bay, which is terrible, to say the least. So honestly, if there's nothing else to do at this point, the people there are going to experience very intense conditions for the next several hours and even throughout the morning, as this thing comes on shore. And will still be a major hurricane, I believe, in 12 hours. While it's moving inland and will dissipate by tomorrow. Well, not by tomorrow, but the next day. But still, a lot of rain, up to 20 inches. Probably good chance of 15 plus feet of storm surge. Heavy winds, heavy rain, and nobody had enough time to prepare for this. So this is as worse as you can get.
Yeah, absolutely. Latest indications are that the eye is around 20 miles to the south-southeast of Acapulco.
And what's its movement? Full speed.
North-northwest at 9 miles per hour.
So should make landfall in hour and a half, give or take.
Around there, an hour or two would probably be the most likely landfall time for this powerful hurricane.
Well, it seems that calmness that was there on shore is definitely gone now. The winds have taken up by a bunch. I imagine,
Absolutely.
are we going to get some news at the top of the hour from the National Hurricane Center?
It does appear that they're doing hourly updates, so we will be, yes. We're going to witness a significant impact here in Acapulco on this webcam. Eyewall is literally now mere minutes away from impacting the city of Acapulco. This is an extremely dangerous situation. Um, but if you are in Acapulco, we can only hope that you are in shelter. And if you are not, time is very, very quickly running out. If you have any comments or questions, you can send those down in the comment section down below. Be sure to tag us at Force13. It'll light up nice and bright and orange for us. Those palm trees are significantly bending now on this webcam, Orlando.
Yeah, it's definitely night and day just compared to about an hour ago, where there was even people that seemed to be working at the hotels and resorts. They were just about doing some last minute touches around the pool, and now just clearly heavy bands, heavy waves, um, palm trees blowing, things that you'd usually expect in a
Wow,
situation
look at the
like this.
visibility drop now. Right there. Just like the last few seconds. That was a big visibility drop.
Sheesh.
But the eye wall of this dangerous hurricane is mere minutes away. Look at the palm trees on the bottom left hand side. They are swinging very, very badly.
Yeah, I mean, it's the least you'd expect from a Category 5 hurricane. 165-mile-per-hour winds coming on shore as we speak.
Someone's asking us that they are we aware of the latest wind speed or pressure in Acapulco? We are not. We don't know at this point in time, unfortunately.
The thing is, this came all of a sudden that even the best storm chasers, even hurricane chasers in the world, kind of got like the rug pulled from right under them with this thing, because no one expected this to happen. I mean, usually you'd have a lot of recorded data because of the amount of experts that go out there, meteorologists and so forth, but without that present, there's a lot of unknowns with what's the condition, the official data that's going to be recorded, without as many readings as there would be. Even less so when there's no reconnaissance missions like there are in the Atlantic.
Absolutely. We are still continuing to monitor this extremely dangerous hurricane as it pushes inland or gets closer to landfall, I should be saying. Still with estimated wind speeds of 165 miles per hour per the National Hurricane Center's latest update, and they do expect that this hurricane will make landfall as a Category 5 in mere hours. Can the expected storm surge
Yeah.
be greater than what was seen with Ian last year? Someone behind the scenes has provided to me that the Met Service in Mexico storm surge of 5 to 7 meters to 16 to 21 feet of storm surge anticipated is what they are forecasting. I imagine a little bit higher than that now, personally.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's the Acapulco Bay. I mean, it's one of the most vulnerable points in the west coast of Mexico. And it's also one of the most vital points. I
The
mean,
camera just went
for
down. I think it did.
hundreds of years, it's been one of the most vital ports. So it's going to be very impactful to the Pacific economy of Mexico, as well, of course, the tourism industry of the city, and just for its citizens in general.
Isaac's got another webcam up though, thankfully, that is showing, I believe, conditions, albeit on a still camera. Very dangerous conditions now entering the city of Acapulco.
Yeah, it's becoming very evident. We might not be able to maintain any webcam footage for much longer. I mean, it's very hard, especially given these cameras aren't necessarily designed to observe in 165-mile-per-hour winds. And that's just sustained 1 minute. So imagine the gusts. It wouldn't be hard to knock this one out as well.
I imagine it's going to be a long night for a lot of people here in Acapulco.
And I think the worst part about this is that even after this side comes through, there's a whole other side that's going to appear.
Absolutely. Power is still on, so it's a bit unclear why that webcam ended up going down.
Maybe because the person running it is afraid that it might, that they don't want to like keep it out for much longer. Maybe, who knows?
That or its signals weakening.
I don't believe that webcam has come back on, Isaac. I don't believe. No, it has not. Is that one still on, by the way? No, that one's down. That one, of course, is still on. We'll stay with it as long as we can. Only a matter of time before these cameras start going down.
Are those cars?
I am not entirely sure. Those might be in the bottom
Yeah,
right. Yeah, those might be in the bottom right. I see what you mean now.
It
yeah, it's
is good.
vehicles.
It's good that the current models. I don't know if I should share my screen for a minute. I mean, but
You can if you
um,
want.
uh, it says I don't have permission to screen share. For some reason. Um, but um, it's okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you. So taking a quick look at sorry, I'm blabbering. Taking a quick look at Zoom Earth, you can see that the eye structure has really improved with the storm. It's expected to make landfall almost directly over Acapulco, basically directly over the city. However, luckily tomorrow, or by around 5 p.m. local time, it is expected to drop down completely to a tropical storm and become a very weak system. Like a very weak tropical storm after um about a about like 12 hours. However, by around 5 in the morning, um, by around 5 in the morning on October 25th, which is tomorrow or today for some of you, it is still expected to be a Category 3, but inland. But
It'll be weaker than that, trust me.
yeah, but if we're looking at this, we can see that a landfall is likely expected in Acapulco, directly in the city from likely from um, likely around like 2 to 3 a.m. or possibly 1 a.m., which definitely could become very devastating as hurricanes that impact, like very powerful hurricanes that make landfalls. I would say that when they make landfall at nighttime, in these hours of nighttime at least, like when like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 1 a.m., 4 a.m., that stretch of time is when the fewest amount of people are awake, meaning that there's a higher chance of people who have, who are more vulnerable to this. And so, of course, that could lead to more people sadly dying from storm surge and other related effects from the system, which is a very saddening thing. So it is very concerning seeing that it's expected to make a landfall in like the period of time where some of the fewest amounts of people are awake. But luckily, I do believe that there are more people who are currently awake right now, as well. A Category 5 is currently looming over the city of Acapulco, but it is still very concerning to see this track line, although it is...
Oh, audio. This webcam has audio.
Ooh, nice. But that's all I was gonna say, is just very concerning to see its current track line. But thank you for letting me share this.
Not a problem. Going back to this webcam here in the city of Acapulco, you can see that conditions are continuing to deteriorate, albeit we can still see the city in the distance. I don't expect that we'll be able to see it for much longer, though.
Some video coming out from people on the ground at the city.
Any links to those by chance?
Yeah,
Okay.
I found this one. You give it a check if you'd like.
That's an image on that first one.
People
Yeah,
in
that's the second one.
People in the chat are saying that they saw someone driving, which, yeah, if you're that one person driving, just stop,
Here's a video
park
that
your car,
that someone had
get
posted on
inside.
Twitter. Here's a video that someone had posted on Twitter. We'll play this video here real quick. Looks like winds are getting pretty gusty on there.
Yeah, it's only likely to get much worse from here, sadly, as the storm does move into Acapulco. But,
Yeah, the thing is that I'd like to mention is, people driving is something that is reckless, but at the same time, on one end, for a lot of people in Acapulco, there is no precedent or set behavior of how to behave in situations like this. What's too dangerous, what's not, and even more so if there's no experience of that for themselves to understand it. So overall, it's expected for this event to catch mostly everyone off guard.
Which is quite saddening, to say the least, as it's very concerning seeing people treating this like it's not a big deal, which this is a huge deal. I know, I remember I was on call for Tropical Storm Hillary when it was about to pass over California. I can say that damage was much less than expected, with, people, of course, hoarding sandbags and commodities, which of course wasn't necessary, as it was mainly just medium to heavy rain for the majority of California, as it wasn't as bad as it was expected to be. But that doesn't always happen with these storms. For example, I don't know, maybe Hurricane Katrina. That's just the first example that just popped out on my mind. Evacuations weren't taken as seriously as they should have been, with evacuations being issued already too late as the storm was starting to begin to bear down on Louisiana and the New Orleans area. So definitely better to be safe than sorry, although it is quite saddening seeing people not taking this situation seriously.
It really is unfortunate. Continue to ask your questions. Be sure to tag us at Force13. I do believe now this is the outer eye wall, or at least the outer part of the eye wall, moving into Acapulco right now on your screen.
I found a video of storm surge.
We'll pull that up on
There's
our screen here.
unfortunately a whole family that happens to be in the video. I do not know if they have access to better shelter, but they are right on the shoreline.
Here is this video here. We'll play it. This is by Cesar Gipeta, looks like, on Twitter. We'll have to let it load here just for a second. Why isn't it loading?
The tweet is also saying, why are there people and children on the beach when there's a potentially catastrophic hurricane? That's what the tweet is saying, if any of you were wondering, as I am taking Spanish. But yeah, definitely a sentiment I agree with. Why are there people out on the shoreline? Those people are risking their lives. But I just don't get it. Like, I mean, we were, like, in California, a majority of people were over-preparing for this, while sadly, and quite unfortunately, I can just see that many people are under-preparing for this, so it's not gonna be a good situation, nonetheless.
Not to mention, the thing is, this city doesn't have the preparation used. Usually, you know, when you have a storm or hurricane, you have like 3 days to prepare accordingly, especially for something of this intensity. However, there was no time for these resources to be allocated properly. And to add to that, so a lot of these times people don't have anywhere to go but their own homes. And some people feel more comfortable and more safe in their own homes than trying to leave town. And it's that stubbornness combined with a lot of unfortunate events that leads to casualties. And unfortunately, that's something that seems almost unavoidable in this situation.
So, I think it's Jaco the dummy. I might be mispronouncing your name. If so, I'm very sorry. But as you said, they're near mountains, so landslides are a huge danger. I agree with you. If by taking a look at, when we take a look at older storms that have impacted Mexico around like the more southern regions, we can, like, as shown by like Pauline, Paul, and other ones, of course, we could see that landslides were a huge danger and caused the majority of the fatalities. And other hurricanes like Fifi or Mitch, both of those caused major damages throughout wherever they impacted, and they didn't even have to be powerful when they impacted it, but in this case it is going to be powerful. So that's an added layer of very life-threatening situation currently, as landslides are already one thing, but Category 5 force winds throughout a major city is another thing. So this is not looking good, and this could easily be a very catastrophic situation for the city of Acapulco.
Absolutely. This is probably the eye wall of this hurricane now. This is probably the eye wall of this hurricane. Moving onshore, moving through Acapulco, Mexico.
I'm finding a lot of videos, unfortunately, of people not behaving well. For instance, there are people that are on resorts, beach resorts, that are trying to mop or pan away the water on the ground floor, and people walking around like there's nothing much going on.
Yeah.
When that's going to quickly change in about 30 minutes or so.
Yeah, they're being like, oh, it's just another Tuesday. Nothing much going on here. No, there is a lot going on here. This is not a good situation. Acapulco is a port city, so the piers and the ports and sea faring ways of the city could definitely be extremely um, uh, damaged. And Soham just posted in the chat saying there are only 3 ways out by road. One is a no-go from storm surge. The other 2 are landslide hazards. Acapulco is a death trap. I totally agree with them. This is just not looking like a good way to do. To be in. This is not looking like a good situation to be in. Sorry. Nothing is. There's not really much else to do in terms of evacuation because the storm is already bearing down. So anybody trying to evacuate by now, I'm sorry to say this, but time has run out and you're already too late. If you are trying to evacuate to safer regions, there isn't much you can do because you will likely face either storm surge or landslides, which will make it near impossible to evacuate. Plus, you'll be exposing yourself to hurricane force winds, and as said, it could become a death trap, which is very saddening to say.
Yeah, it is a truly unfortunate situation for these areas. Really, all of coastal Mexico. They have never experienced something like this. Never. At least from the eastern Pacific side. The Yucatan Peninsula has gotten stronger landfalls than this, but they have not gotten a hurricane this strong from the eastern Pacific side.
Yes. And to add on to what you're saying, for the Yucatan Peninsula, of course, they have the major city of Cancun. They have Playa del Carmen, and they also have other cities, but that it's not very consistently populated as the western side of Mexico, the southwestern part of Mexico surrounding Acapulco in the state of Guerrero is compared to, say, Quintana Roo or Yucatan, the states. So there's a higher, risk in terms of more people being exposed to major hurricane force winds, which is very catastrophic event unfolding, unfortunately.
We are taking an update statement from the National Hurricane Center at top of the hour pretty shortly. But, oh, I really hope that webcam didn't just go down.
It may have, unfortunately. Let me see if I can find another live camera, possibly. I'm sure that there is one on, I'm sure that there is something currently live and currently covering Otis live on YouTube. I'm sure of that.
This one's still on that, I think, as found. This one is still on for the time being. Maybe not for much longer, though. If you do have any comments or questions, you can send us on the comment section down below. Be sure to tag us at Force13. It'll light up nice and bright for us. The eye wall of this hurricane at this point is entering or passing over the city of Acapulco. This is a historic and a once-in-a-lifetime event, probably, for most people.
I will say, though, that once-in-a-lifetime events are occurring more common, unfortunately, as, of course, this season we've had Hillary, which was considered a once-in-a-lifetime event, and now we have Otis, which is considered a once-in-a-lifetime event, both in the same season, which, unless this season is a true anomaly, I don't expect future seasons to not have events like these happening, which is quite concerning to think about. But I may be getting a little bit ahead of myself, but still, just a very unfortunate situation playing out across Mexico. Could be. It is a bit hard to say, as of course you aren't there, and so it's hard because the camera can't, of course, pick up all of like the rain and the wind because it's hard to, pick that up in a camera. But I do think that we might be starting to enter the eye wall, unfortunately. I could say that it could be approaching Category 2 strength in terms of wind speeds in Acapulco, but just by looking at the track map on Zoom Earth, it just looks like that it's going to go directly over the city of Acapulco. I don't know. I don't know what is going to happen, honestly. All we can do is, just hope that this this doesn't become a very terrible situation, but by the looks of things, it's starting to become a bit more likely.
That shows my mic was off. That's fantastic. But I was just saying that we are expecting a intermediate advisory from the National Hurricane Center very shortly. We'll have to wait and see what they do to the intensity. This is probably at least the outer eye wall of this hurricane. A bit unclear if this is of how strong the winds are, but this is at least probably Category 2 strength winds at this point. So winds are probably gusting at least over 100 miles per hour in Acapulco. The time to seek shelter at this point has run out in Acapulco. If you are not in shelter, get to one now, and I mean now. Or if you know anyone in Acapulco, tell them to get to shelter immediately. How long is this storm expected to last in the Acapulco region? It's a bit unclear how long it's going to last, but I imagine it's going to be a few hours yet.
The worst of it should be over the next 12 hours, and the rest, any sort of side effects or aftermath of the storm while it's beginning to dissipate, would be over the course of the next 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we are going to watch this eye wall. We're going to stay with this webcam as long as we can. As long as the webcam stays up, we'll stay with it. But I think it's just a matter of time before this webcam goes down.
Another thing that doesn't help is the elevation itself, especially along the shoreline. I mean, there's homes and residences up there, and the higher you go up, the stronger the winds are going to be and the stronger gusts are going to be. So everyone down from the shore all the way up to the mountainsides, they're going to be in for a rough time.
Absolutely. The time at this point, like I've been saying, for you to seek shelter from this extremely dangerous hurricane has closed. At this point, you should be sheltering in place.
Jeanette Parsadanian said, "Will there be more hurricanes next year like this?" Of course,
100%.
at Force 13, we cannot predict hurricanes that'll happen next year, and so of course we cannot make that prediction or statement. But it is possible. Of course, it's not out of the question. Although it would kind of be foolish to say yes, this will happen, or the no, this will not happen. As so for right now, it is on the side of probably not, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it was hard enough to predict this a day out. Imagine a whole 365 days, who knows? That's why it's told many, many times that it only takes one, and no matter what. You should always have a plan or a way of handling a situation like a hurricane if you're in a zone that is prone to it, no matter the intensity. Because even though the average strongest hurricane in this area may be, let's say, for instance, a category two, there's always the potential for something stronger.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, today has proven that very evidently. The main reason why it's said to, hope for the best but prepare for the worst.
Yep, and that is something true with this hurricane. Whenever this storm first formed, we were originally forecasting just a 45-mile-an-hour tropical storm. And look at where it is now. Update from the National Hurricane Center. Eye of Category 5 Hurricane Otis about to make landfall near Acapulco, Mexico. Catastrophic damage likely when the core moves onshore. So the landfall is probably going to occur within the next hour. Winds are still 165 miles per hour. Pressure still 923 millibars. Moving northwest at 10 miles per hour now. So maybe picking up the pace a little bit.
Mhm.
Which is a good or and bad news because if there's anybody that's still out there, their time is more than short, and honestly, it's just only going to get worse from here.
I don't really want to say this, but if you're outside and not in shelter in and very close to the ocean in Acapulco, then um if you don't find shelter within the next 5 to 10 minutes, or if you're not inside within the next 10 minutes, then you are basically effectively screwed, as you will be subjected to at least Category 1, possibly Category 2, force winds and extreme rainfall, and which could definitely, do damage to you, as flooding could start to quickly settle in to the region, as this is a port city after all. And so, um, and just saying this for everyone, if we look at a topography map of Acapulco, we can see that the city is, for majority of it, is encircled by a range of elevated areas, which could prove to be a deadly mudslide and landslide risk for Acapulco itself, with major landslides possibly occurring due to moisture from the landfall of Otis, which could cause extreme damage and possibly bury houses, as seen multiple times before. So this is a very life-threatening situation, and taking shelter is necessary for your survival. I will say, oh, looks like the webcam is buffering, although it could be out.
I sure hope it isn't out. Let's go back to the other one, Isaac. Let's see if this one's still up. I hope it is. It's still up.
Yay.
So it
We're
just says still shot. As the eye wall of Category 5 Hurricane Otis is moving onshore right now.
Mm-hmm.
And all I could hope is those are not cars, but unfortunately, I think I'm wrong.
It is currently midnight, October 25th in Acapulco as of now, and landfall is expected within the next 3 to 4 hours, possibly within the next 1 to 2 hours.
Oh, it's gonna be earlier than that. It's gonna be like within like the next 15, 20 minutes or so.
I would have to disagree a little bit on that one, as by taking a look at Zoom Earth for the forecast map, you can see that it's expected to be it's expected to be around the same position as Ocotito, which is like close to the shore, and it's looking like it's going to be within the next hour or two, because it's expected to be still relatively closer to the shoreline than at 5 hours from now local time. So it is looking like we could see landfall within the next hour, though. So that's just what I'm putting it at. Yvonne asks, could we look at the satellite? Ethan, would you mind if we look at the satellite for a minute?
There it is. This is a little bit out of date. I'll refresh this to see if we can get an updated look. I do apologize for the transparency of the storm, but you can see it there, very close to the coastline of Mexico. And I'll zoom in here very closely. I'll turn off the track map here of this hurricane, making it does appear that Acapulco right now is in the eye wall of this hurricane, and might even clip the eastern side of the eye.
Ethan, if you don't mind, could I share my screen again just for a minute, as I would like to just refresh everyone on what Zoom Earth has been forecasting for the storm for anybody who has joined since the last time when I showed this. So okay, I have it pulled up. So if you look here on Zoom Earth, we can see that Hurricane Otis is currently 165 miles an hour and is expected to make a direct pass over the city of Acapulco, which could be quite devastating for the region. It's likely to be very devastating, actually. However, it is expected to not make it too far inland on the
Well, that's unfortunate. My Discord has unfortunately crashed, so you're stuck with me just for a few seconds. Okay, there we go. We got our live team back now. My Discord unfortunately crashed there.
Yeah, it's okay. I was just hoping that you just didn't spontaneously fall asleep. But
no.
As I was saying, if we look here on the satellite map and the forecast cone, we can see that it doesn't get too far inland and rapidly deteriorates upon making landfall, becoming a tropical storm within I'd say around like 10 to 12 hours of making landfall. So it will be it'll very rapidly weaken. However, it is still expected to pass directly over the city of Acapulco. And so the eye, there's still likely to be an eye, almost definitely. It is expected to pass over the city of Acapulco, and then weaken to a Category 3 before then going over to here. And if we look at if we take, I mean, I believe that there is I believe that there oh yeah, yes. So if we also take a look at a precipitation map for the region, we can see that there is heavy rain expected for the region, with rain expected to impact Acapulco at around a maximum of 0.88 inches per hour at around 1 a.m. And then at 2 a.m. we can see that it'll get all the way up to 1.08 inches an hour, which is very heavy rain. For an hour, that would be around 2 inches per hour. And you can see a clear eye on the rainfall map. And taking a look at the wind speed forecast for 2 a.m., gusts are expected up to hurricane strength, although it is likely to be much higher than what is forecasted here. But it is still unknown what the gusts for Acapulco will be, but it is expected at least 70 miles an hour, which is a strong tropical storm, but it is likely to be much higher than that. So it's still on the table of whether Acapulco will see Category 5 gusts, which is very likely. This is likely very lowballing it, but it's still definitely on the cards in terms of wind damage and, of course, storm surge damage from Otis.
Absolutely. If you have any comments or questions, you send them in the comment section down below. We'll answer those in due course. Be sure to tag us at Force13. It'll light up nice and bright for us. Inches per hour of feet per hour. I'm not really sure what you mean by that, Austin. The power is out. Power is out in Acapulco.
Not surprised.
The city has gone. Oh, it's coming back on, it looks like. So this is the eye wall. This is the full force of this Category 5 hurricane passing over the city of Acapulco. They are in the eye wall of a Category 5 hurricane for the first time in their history.
This is insane. I cannot believe that this is happening. I just don't know what's going to happen with Acapulco. I pray that the city stays safe, but looking at it here, significant damage is still expected. I mean, they're expected to be exposed to Category 4 or even Category 5 force winds, so I don't know what's going to happen.
Reports coming out of over 90% of Acapulco without power currently.
Do we have any data on current wind speeds for Acapulco?
No, we do not. This live camera is still up. It's still up, but you cannot see hardly anything in the distance. One, because visibility is just so bad, and two, because power is out to most of the city. At this point, the full force of this Category 5 hurricane is passing directly over this city of, I believe, around 1 million people. It's a bit uncertain exactly what the population is, but this is the full force of a Category 5 hurricane.
That is saying that audio broke. Let me check if that is correct. I do not believe that audio broke.
It's fine on our end.
Yeah, it's fine on my end as well, so I don't think that audio broke. But
oh, another power failure just now.
Yeah, there's another power failure. not looking too good for Mexico, sadly.
Webcam is still on.
It's great that the camera's still on, but unfortunately, it looks completely dark for the city, so I'm not too sure whether there is going to be anything that will be able to be seen on the web camera for much
You
longer.
can see how much the camera is shaking too.
Yeah, and we can see some light, something.
The gradient's so tight that honestly everything's just going ham, just in a very rapid pace. That's the honest horrible thing about this situation is that how fast things will get worse.
We are about to witness the first official Category 5 landfall in the Eastern Pacific on record. We are about to live through it. This is historic. This is a historic, life-threatening event for the city of Acapulco and for Mexico. This is the first time
No.
officially. If it stands up in the tropical cyclone report, this will be the strongest landfall ever recorded in this basin. This will beat Patricia in 2015 by, if the wind speed is still the same at landfall right now, 165. If it's still the wind speed is still the same at landfall, it'll beat it by 15 miles an hour.
I agree. This is a historic event unfolding as of now for everyone.
Yeah, it's just crazy. The worst system to make landfall in Mexico decides to do it in the most important city on the West Coast.
I agree. Category 5s are not anything expected or fresh on the minds of anyone living on the western coast of Mexico or Central America or anywhere on the eastern side of the Pacific, really. This is not an expected situation for anyone, and because of this, preparations haven't been as adequate as they should have, unfortunately, because of how rapidly this storm has intensified recently, and resulting from that is a very much lessened response for preparing for this storm, which definitely will have impacts on what will happen in the aftermath, because there won't be as much preparation. So it's unfortunate what is going to happen, and I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I do not expect that Acapulco will come out unscathed from this, as
Neither do I. We are mere minutes away from landfall, and I mean minutes. We are witnessing history right now, folks. And I don't mean that in a good way. It is a very bad way.
I agree.
We have to hope that that the residents of Acapulco at this point are doing well, and at this point are hitting, or at least seeking shelter adequately. This hurricane right now is moving onshore with maximum sustained winds of 165 miles per hour. If this wind speed sustains until landfall here in just a few minutes, if the National Hurricane Center does not downgrade the wind speed, I doubt that they'll even downgrade it past Patricia's record. But we are about to witness the strongest landfall ever recorded in the Eastern Pacific, potentially the first Category 5 landfall ever recorded, if it sustains through the tropical cyclone report at the end of the hurricane season, probably in early 2024.
It is possible, definitely. I mean, looking at it, satellite presentation, it doesn't look like it's weakening that much. But land interaction is definitely going to affect this storm heavily, as Acapulco is mountainous, per se, although it isn't enough to weaken down the storm as immediately as, say, it would if it made landfall in another portion of the Mexican coastline. So this is just a terrible, terrible situation unfolding, and I would give it a 50-50 chance of it making a Category 5 landfall, which, assuming that it holds on to intensity, which is likely considering how the water temperatures are not going down and there's little wind shear for the region. It just doesn't seem like it's going to be a good situation at all for anyone.
Are there any comments down there, Corgi, by chance? If you can go to that.
Let me see. Let me see. Again, if you have any comments, concerns, or questions about anything regarding this storm, please let us know. But let me see. How far back do the Eastern Pacific records of tropical storms go? What year? Consistently, I would say it goes back to the 1950s. However, there are records of tropical cyclones dating back to the earlier 20th century, most notably 1939, as there are records for storms that occurred there, as well as some pressure maps for seasons earlier than that. However, I wouldn't say that there's consistent reanalyzed records for systems until around the early 1950s. Let's see, what else?
Quite likely that the landfall time probably has just passed. At this point, the National Hurricane Center will probably be confirming landfall pretty shortly.
On satellite, I still do not see that the storm has, although this is behind about 20 minutes
I'll pull
and
up satellite
landfall.
imagery. This is courtesy
Okay.
of Tropical Tidbits with his Levi Cowan's website. And I don't know about you, Corey, but that clearly looks like a landfall there.
I was looking at imagery from 10:50 p.m. I was not looking at it but yes, we can see that landfall has occurred. I believe landfall is in the middle of occurring. Sorry, that was
It's
worded
very
terribly.
close. We are still watching this webcam. The eye wall of this Category 5 hurricane is still passing over Acapulco. You can't see very much because the city is completely out of power right now.
Exactly. The eye wall is starting to suffer a bit. I meant the eye itself, sorry. The eye is starting to look worse as it experiences land interaction, although it is still definitely present and definitely is going to impact and possibly pass over the city of Acapulco.
This is the strongest landfall in the Eastern Pacific that we are about to witness right now. We are literally witnessing history. I never thought that I would say that for an Eastern Pacific storm on a live stream before.
Me neither.
We are about to witness the strongest landfall ever recorded in the Eastern Pacific. Will it make landfall as a Category 5? We're about to find out from the National Hurricane Center. Update statement due any minute now.
I will be Ethan, do you mind if I have the honors of pulling up the landfall advisory?
I'll have it first, so it'll probably come from me.
Okay. Sorry, I was just wondering. But I will just keep refreshing the page to see it when it happens. Although it is expected any minute now, as you said. For 11, it'll likely happen, I'd say, either 11:20 or 11:30, because it is currently, or I meant, 12:20 or 12:30 for local time. I was defaulting to my time zone. However,
Acapulco uses Central, so it's only an hour behind us.
see, yeah.
So right now it's 1:20 a.m. there.
Oh, wait, hold on.
At least I believe it is.
It says no. It is
Yeah,
12.
it says
It is
1:20.
12:20. It's 12:20.
Oh, they use Mountain? Huh.
Yeah, they use
My
Mountain.
apologies then.
So this it's likely to occur either 11 p.m. or I meant 11:20 p.m. or 11:30 p.m. Although
We've got some Twitter video from the eye wall of this hurricane right now. I'll pull it up here on our screen. This is from David Hall here. Wow, look at that wind. That is video of the eye wall of Hurricane Otis passing over the city of Acapulco right now.
you can see those palm trees really swaying in the wind, and it just looks like huge gusts of wind and taking over the entire city, and rain just pummeling everything around it. Truly just a terrible experience for people living there.
They've never experienced anything like this, nor has anyone in Mexico. This is a first for all of us across the world. We have never experienced a Category 5 making landfall, at least officially, from the Pacific side on Mexico. This is a historic event, and I imagine that this storm will probably remain on the minds of many people in this region for many months, if not years, to come.
Did it get confirmed as a Category 5 landfall?
We do not have landfall just yet, but we are expecting it fairly shortly.
Okay, sorry. I was a little bit confused, but
No landfall from the NHC just yet.
Landfall could definitely be announced any minute, although I am guessing 11:30 or sorry, 12:30 is when landfall is most likely going to occur.
Whenever the NHC issues their update statement, you'll hear it from us right here at Force 13.
I agree.
It is a pretty strong question of whether or not this storm has weakened a little bit, but the difference between 165 miles per hour and 160 and 155 is very minimal. We are still waiting on the update statement from the National Hurricane Center, and we are eagerly awaiting their information to potentially call landfall on this Category 5 hurricane.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
We'll go back to my screen because unfortunately Isaac has had to leave us. I'll swap the satellite scene back to this more easily visible one as we are awaiting the National Hurricane Center's update statement for landfall of this potentially historic Category 5 hurricane.
Mm-hmm. Well, Isaac is back.
Welcome back on board, Isaac. Oh,
Never mind. Never mind again. He is back now.
If you have any comments or questions, send those down to the comment section down below while we're still on the air. Be sure to tag us at Force 13. It'll light up nice and bright and orange for me.
And Isaac is gone again. Let's see. Yes, please leave comments or questions in the live chat. We want to answer your questions. If you have any questions for us, we will do our best to try and help you understand more about this very serious and catastrophic situation unfolding, which we are here to help and here to inform. So, again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or anything that you want confirmation with, please let us know. Lowbetter21 says, at Force 13, what is the current strength of Otis? Tropical Tidbits says that the current maximum sustained winds of Otis are, that doesn't seem right. Tropical Tidbits has it at 150 or 145 miles an hour, which does not seem right to me.
Well, that's going off of information from the 0Z ATCF, which at that time, at 0Z, this hurricane had winds of 145 miles per hour.
Yes,
most likely.
that is my fault. If we are looking at if we're looking at it from a point of view, we do not, for me at least, I do not have current of the minute. Isaac is back, but as of right now, I do not have current of the minute intensity readings for this storm. However, if we're looking at it through a satellite perspective, we could be seeing definitely category 4 or 5, still likely a category 5 still, although it could be a category 4 as of now, although that is still up for debate. So
we've got Isaac's stream back up. We've got some news to break.
Yes. A landfall has been called.
Category 5 Hurricane Otis has made landfall over Acapulco with wind speeds of 165 miles per hour and a pressure of 923 millibars. This is the strongest landfall ever recorded in the Eastern Pacific Basin officially. They have officially called landfall 165 miles per hour, 923 millibars. This is a historic situation for the coastline of Mexico and especially the city of Acapulco.
This is I repeat, this is a landfall advisory for the coast of Mexico and the greater Acapulco area. As Ethan said, a Category 5 landfall with winds of 165 miles an hour and a central pressure of 923 millibars has occurred directly over Acapulco International Airport, and the storm is expected to move inland and rapidly weaken over the next 12 to 24 hours. However, damage is still likely to be severe from the storm, as Acapulco has never experienced a Category 5 in its entire history, nor has the entire coastline of western Mexico in recent memory, in terms of recorded history. And so this is an extremely catastrophic event unfolding as of now, and it is likely to deliver torrential rainfall and very serious damage throughout Acapulco and Guerrero province as of now.
I'll read the update statement here. Category 5 Hurricane Otis makes landfall near Acapulco, Mexico. Satellite imagery indicates that Otis had made landfall near Acapulco, Mexico around 1:25 a.m. or 12:25 a.m. local time. The maximum sustained winds are estimated to be 165 miles per hour, and the minimum central pressure is estimated to be 923 millibars. Otis is a Category 5 hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale. This is the strongest landfall ever recorded from the Eastern Pacific side of Mexico.
I believe that we do need an update on this quickly. I just wanted to get that out of the way. But yes, this is a historic event unfolding for Mexico. A storm of this magnitude has not been observed in recorded history in terms of tracking tropical cyclones. So this is a very serious event unfolding right now for the coast of western Mexico.
We have just witnessed history. This is, once again, the strongest landfall ever recorded from the
Absolutely.
Eastern Pacific Basin. We have never witnessed anything this strong. Someone was going to say something there? I don't believe so. Anyway, if you have any comments or questions, we'll be ending our stream at top of the hour, most likely. Stay with us, though. We still have 30 minutes left. Do ask our questions if you have any. Of course, be sure to tag us at Force13. It'll light up nice and big and orange for us. How big is Otis? Right now, the eye, at least what's left of it, is still probably around 10 miles wide. But if we're talking about the whole CDO of the storm, or the central dense overcast, from top left to bottom right, it's around 365, 370 miles wide. So it's fairly compact as far as Eastern Pacific hurricanes go. Of course, but the wind field only sends outwards, I believe, maximum around 60 to 70 miles from the center. So it is a fairly compact hurricane. Once again, breaking news if you have just missed it. Hurricane Otis has made landfall with winds of 165 miles per hour and a pressure of 923 millibars. This is history in the making.
Absolutely incredible. Oh, is my mic working now?
Yes, we can hear you, Isaac.
Wow, that was inconvenient. I'm just amazed that we're still able to get this live camera feed from Acapulco right now. Obviously, not going to be able to see anything except maybe some power flashes and eyewall lightning and eyewall of this. But just absolutely incredible. We're able to even still get a live feed from that area, given how basically the entire city is without power here. I'm assuming this is running off of generator power, or maybe some other type of power here, and is able to keep it running. But just an absolutely historic and, of course, very dangerous and hopefully not too deadly event that's going on here. That's certainly going to be remembered for many, many years to come. Mind you, Acapulco in general has not had a hurricane of this magnitude ever make a landfall in at least recorded history going back, 150 years or so. I think the strongest hurricane to come close to this was, I think, a high-end category 2 or low-grade category 3, I think, in the 1970s. And this is, of course, a 165-mile-an-hour category 5 beast that has made landfall on Acapulco, and a very large city at that, too. And I dread to see the pictures that we're going to be seeing come sunrise later on tomorrow, and see what the damage actually ends up being. And hopefully we come out of this with the least amount of fatalities as possible. But just looking at it from an outside observer's point of view, from just looking at satellite imagery alone, it just looks very, very grim to say the least. This is basically, as National Hurricane Center worded it when they changed it to a category 5, this is basically the worst case scenario for this part of Mexico here we're seeing unfold. We had a rapidly intensifying storm. When they woke up this morning, it was a mid-grade tropical storm, and then when they went to bed, it was a high-end category 4 or lower end category 5 when they were going to bed. So just an absolutely remarkable hurricane, and I can't really speak clearly in the words just how catastrophic an event this is, and hopefully just everybody's hunkering down, staying safe, not doing any foolish decisions being outside or doing anything foolish during this extremely intense and perhaps deadly eyewall here.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Isaac. This is... so, apologize for my coughing there. But I'm at a loss for words. This is historic. We've never seen anything like this from the Eastern Pacific on record. Of course, Mexico gets multiple Category 5 landfalls, or it has history of multiple Category 5 landfalls from the Atlantic side because it has the Yucatan Peninsula that sticks out. Dean did it. Trying to think of more. A hurricane from 1955. Gilbert did it. I forget what that hurricane from 1955 is called. Might be Janet I'm thinking about. But anyway, a hurricane of that year made landfall in Mexico as a Category 5 from the Atlantic side. But we have yet to have a landfall from the Eastern Pacific side. And of course, it took until 2023 for Mexico to get its first Cat 5 landfall. Hard to say if it'll sustain itself through the post-analysis at the end of the season, but we'll have to wait and see. It'll probably be out in March and April in 2024.
And mind you, on the Atlantic side of things, Belize and Cancun, compared to where this is hitting in Acapulco, they're pretty small towns in comparison to what the size of Acapulco is. It's a really big tourist destination, really big city in general in the country, and it's a completely different ballpark because unlike Belize and Cancun, where they're kind of used to getting hit by a hurricane or two every season or two, Acapulco, of course, is not really used to getting hit by a hurricane, let alone a extremely dangerous 165-mile-an-hour Category 5 is what they're getting. That's what they're getting it right now in the cover of nighttime right here. You're seeing on the live feed. So it's just a very historic storm and a very dangerous storm at that, ongoing.
Another question here. Since Otis made landfall close to the airport, would Otis make storm surge by the lagoon bay that is by the airport more than Acapulco Bay? Hard to say exactly. Any thoughts on that, Isaac?
It is a very compact storm, but I believe last I heard the National Hurricane Center was predicting a storm surge of 12 to 15 feet, and that is nothing to scoff at. And I'm not too, of course, familiar with the whole Acapulco Bay because I'm not used to having to cover a Category 5 making landfall there. But I would assume there's certainly some spots in there that could really get hit hard by the surge, even though it's not a giant storm by any means. It's still one that's packing a very nasty punch as you're seeing here.
Absolutely. We have just witnessed the very first Category 5 landfall on the Pacific side of Mexico. For those asking if this storm will be retired, that isn't even a guarantee, believe it or not. We'll have to wait and see how much damage the storm does, and it's ultimately up to Mexico to determine if this hurricane will be retired or not. And that'll probably be coming in March. I think that's when they meet, right?
Around then. But even still, it could take a little bit longer for the National Hurricane Center to finalize it. I know you're probably looking to the trained eye and unexperienced, hurricane enthusiast or tracker here. This looks like this, a bunch of for all it could be a bunch of fog going through the front of the camera. When this is in reality, this is 165-mile-an-hour winds look like under the cover of darkness is what you're seeing here. We don't have I guess you could, if you want to call it, the luxury of having this make landfall during the day. This is making landfall in the dead of night, at around 1:39 Central Time here, in Mexico. So it's just you can't see too much except maybe the occasional lightning flash here and there, maybe the occasional power flash, and maybe a strong wind gust here and there. But yeah, this is making landfall in the dead of night, basically the worst possible time to make a landfall too, where most people are should be sleeping, but I would imagine that probably nobody's sleeping in this thing right now with the sound and the ferocity of this.
Yeah, I highly doubt that anyone is able to sleep through this.
Just keep that context in mind, though. This is the best view we got because basically all the power is out except this camera for whatever reason that is. I'm assuming it's on backup emergency generator power. Is the only reason why it's on.
Is there audio
So-
from this camera, Isaac?
No, not at all. I have it on full blast and there's nothing.
That's unfortunate.
So
I think that's your fan I'm hearing in the background.
yeah, yeah. This is it's not the most exciting look per se as if we, for instance, as what we got with hurricanes like Idalia earlier this year, but certainly an interesting one nonetheless. Actually, can you go back to satellite, Ethan? I want to see.
Yeah, we can.
kinda-
I'll pull up the much more accurate and much more up-to-date tropical tidbits imagery. This is off of GOES 18 mesoscale. We've got that up now, Isaac.
Yeah, that is. If I didn't know any better, I would have thought somebody superimposed the Category 5 over that part of Mexico just to
I know.
just to poke fun. I'm not used to seeing a hurricane that well making landfall or not let alone even looking that good right up against the Mexico coastline. Usually they fall apart and or show over their former selves, but this storm has really kept its look for the most part. Now, granted, of course, the eye has cooled a little bit, but still, that's a very impressive precipitation for a landfalling Category 5 hurricane. One that's making landfall in Mexico, too, a country known for its mountainous terrain, especially in this region.
Yolanda is saying that they've lost contact with their family at 1 a.m. I really do hope that that everything is doing well for them, and I do hope the best with you and your family, and of course in their recovery as well. If that wasn't clear, was the last storm to majorly affect this area was Hurricane Manuel back in 2013. Just give me just a few minutes, and I'll be able to look at a hurricane that greatly affected this area. How fast is Hurricane Otis moving? 10 miles per hour off towards the north-northwest. Over to you just for a few minutes, Isaac, while I look for this last storm to affect this area.
Okay. While you're doing that, I am going to try to pull up a longer duration loop here so you can see how the hurricane has progressed over the past few hours. But before I do that, look, this is the best track for the Hurricane Otis, and you could see how it went from tropical storm all the way up to a Category 5 just within the same day, really. Just absolutely incredible. I never thought I would see that occurring. But let's go see if we could get some satellite imagery here. Might take a little bit. My computer's being a little bit slow. You can see Hurricane Tammy there, Harmon turning out to sea. But the main show here, of course, is Hurricane Otis. Right now, let's go to Rainbow Infrared, and this will give you, I believe it's a past 10 or 12 hours here of satellite imagery you'll see of this hurricane once it eventually loads here. We got to give it a minute here. Technology, of course, is not wanting to cooperate with me too well. And you can see how the hurricane has progressed over time, how it went from a little bunch of clouds, like a low-grade Category 1 hurricane, really, all the way up to its Category 5 status and eventual landfall over the Acapulco coastline in Mexico. Absolutely stunning images we're seeing here. This is off of the GOES 16 weather satellite in orbit right now. And if we go to tropical tidbits, we should be able to get another kind of a wider view of things. This is the water vapor perspective on the hurricane here, and you can see how it's progressed as well over the past basically 12 hours here. And how the eye cleared out a little bit, and then now as it's making landfall, of course, it's going to start to cloud up again, and probably within 12 hours, so it's going to go back to tropical storm or tropical depression status. and dissipate over that mountainous terrain of Mexico. We saw that exact same thing happen with um, legendary hurricanes like Hurricane Patricia in 2015. How it went from I think it was a 150 mile an hour hurricane at landfall to a tropical storm within I think 12 hours, which is pretty remarkable to see. That's a kind
As
of
I
a
look back here, excuse me, as hurricane impacts in this region, I'm back in the 1990s now, and I'm still looking back. So it has been a long time for hurricane impacts in this region.
I think there's one in 1975, I want to say, or somewhere in the 1970s that was the previous kind of contender for strongest storm in that region, but that was, memory serves me right, barely a category 2 or 3 hurricane compared to this 165 mile an hour storm. And this is another look at the live feed over in Acapulco right now. I mean, not seeing really anything, except the occasional lightning flash or power flash here and there, and that's really about it. I'm honestly still
you
amazed.
can kind of consider this a hurricane impact, but you had back in 1997, you had Hurricane Pauline pass over Acapulco as a weakening hurricane. So you can consider that a hurricane impact if you want. Still going back, getting close to the 1980s here. 1991, nothing back here. 1990, no. So I think the latest major hurricane impact in these regions is probably Madeline, 1976. It's been that long.
That is quite a few years too.
Another question here. Will Otis dissipate as fast as other Eastern Pacific hurricanes? Yes. We are expecting Otis to rapidly die off. And it's quite likely probably in, say, 18 hours from now, this hurricane will be nothing more than a remnant low. If not sooner.
Yeah. We saw that exact same thing, like I said, with Hurricane Patricia in 2015, and we all know how powerful that storm was, and it went from high in category 4 at landfall to I think remnant low in just about the same time, about 12, 18 hours, because of that high terrain on the mountains there.
These mountains of Mexico are very lethal, and I think the mountains are actually higher in height down here than what they were up with Lydia, I believe. I'm not entirely sure.
I had a topographical map up earlier that I, of course, took the tab off here. But yeah, it echoed that same sentiment. How there was a lot, especially around this region, when you get maybe 100 miles, 200 miles inland, you get really up there in the mountains there, and that is not good. That does not spell good for a strengthening storm like this one is, and in most cases, well, in all cases, really, spreads. And we saw that. For example, we saw that for Hurricane Frederick in 1979. It went from a 175 mile an hour Category 5 hurricane at landfall over Dominican Republic to I think it was a 60 mile an hour tropical storm in about 24 hours after it came off of the island. And that just goes to sort of power of just what a high terrain landmass can do to a strong storm like, for instance, Hurricane Otis we'll soon see here in just a few hours.
Absolutely. What do we think was the peak intensity of Otis? I'd have to do some reanalysis, but initially, I'd probably agree with the NHC right now and go with 165 miles an hour. Is that what you would probably go with, Isaac?
I'd probably honestly go about the same. I haven't really looked at much in the way of satellite imagery. I've just been looking at the live camera feeds. I would agree 160, 165. It's really a shame that Recon didn't get to go into it right before landfall, but at least we got some data as it was explosively deepening.
Yeah, at least we got that one Recon pass.
Going back to past storms by Acapulco, the closest hurricane force storm I could see making landfall there in the past few 100 years or so was an unnamed hurricane in 1951. Just want to search that up, Ethan. Don't know what number hurricane that was, but it was in 1951.
Any idea what intensity it was at landfall?
Looks like it was a Category 2, and it made landfall just west of downtown Acapulco. The next closest, I guess, major you could say.
It was a Category 1 in early June.
Early June, wow. And the next closest one I could see is Bridget in 1971, which missed Acapulco by, looks like a good 150 miles or so to the south, but did peak. Looks like it's a Category 2, I want to say. Yeah, I believe a Category 2.
Either way, hurricane impacts for the city of Acapulco appear to be far and few in between. They're pretty far down the coast, where they're not as favorable for hurricane impacts, but more so tropical storm, I would say, is the big impactor down here. Let alone a Category 5 hurricane.
See if I can pull up the graphic here. Computer will. There we go. Alright, so this is the graphic that I was mentioning here. And the yellow here that you see is Category 1, and this orange is Category 2, and the green, of course, is tropical storms. And these are all the past hurricane force or higher storms that have passed within, looks like, probably 300, 400 miles of the city of Acapulco, Mexico. And you can see it's not too many. The most recent that's come pretty close has been, of course, Hurricane Max in 2017.
Yeah, that's
So
witnessing history. There's not even a major hurricane anywhere close.
nope. There is one at the far south corner, like right here, but that's kind of null and void there. All of them have been Category 1s or at best Category 2, and of course we just witnessed the 165 mile an hour Category 5 landfall today here.
Well, there's always a saying, got to be a first time for everything, right?
I guess so. There's a look at the live feed again. Still up, surprisingly. But of course,
That live feed
can't
is
see anything. Yeah, I would assume it's running off the generator power. It has to be at this point, with all the town being without it.
I imagine that Acapulco at this point is either in the they're in the eye, or they're in the eastern eye wall still.
Yeah. If this camera holds up that southern eye wall, and it makes it through sunrise, I'd be curious to see what it captures come sunrise. It'll basically get a first-hand view of what the damage would be like. And as far as I know, there's a lightning flash there. As far as I'm aware, this is the only live camera that's in operation still at Acapulco. All the other cameras have gone down within the past 30 minutes, an hour.
I'm curious, how many people are watching that particular live camera at the moment?
Last I saw, I think it was 300.
Wow.
154 now.
I'm assuming that number's gone down probably since landfall already happened, probably.
Yeah. And the lightning activity has gone down a decent margin compared to what it was about 30 minutes ago when it was just coming in.
We're struggling to understand you, Isaac. I think your mic is going again.
Hello. Yes. Hello.
I can still hear you. It's just it's very hard to understand you.
I can't really raise my.
Oh, you're fine now.
Oh, I can't really raise my volume that much unless you could do it on your end. I think I've maxed out my volume, so I can't go any louder than this.
As high as I can go, yeah.
Sorry about that. Let me know if that happens, because
I will.
Kind of known for that.
Of course, we are going to be concluding at top of the hour here in about 5 minutes or so. I don't think that we unfortunately have anyone else on standby to pick up the coverage and continue, unfortunately. But of course, we have just witnessed a Category 5 hurricane making landfall. As I've been saying multiple times, this is historic, and this is unprecedented. Never has a Eastern Pacific hurricane made a landfall as a major hurricane this far east. We've had one close to it, and that was, I believe, in 2012, I believe. We had a hurricane make landfall east of here, and that was almost at major hurricane strength, but never has a major hurricane made landfall this east at this intensity. Of course, there have been Category 4s that made landfall, mainly Pauline, to the east of here, but never at this intensity have we seen a hurricane make landfall this far east. This is absolutely unprecedented and historic.
There's not a wide view of it there, as it's gone on in history now.
It's written its page in the, at least how long will it last in the page of the history books?
It's a shame that we don't have any radar as well either. The next closest radar is just out of range of this right now, so we can't get a good look at what the core is like right now.
That's unfortunate. How big is the eye? Probably it's been pretty consistently around 10 miles wide.
Yeah, it's a very compact hurricane as opposed to I can't think of the hurricane name already. The one that hit Cabo San Lucas just recently. I'm having a blank here. Norma, as opposed to Norma, it's the polar opposite to that. It's a very compact, and that's one of the main reasons why I was able to intensify so fast. It's because they're so small.
We've got some video here of the eye wall of Hurricane Otis from storm tracker Mike Scanton. This is video in Acapulco as the eye wall of Otis moves ashore.
Let's see here.
Listen to that wind.
Wow.
Or are those tornado sirens in the background? Or those are... No, he's clearly doing something. I have no idea why that siren's playing. But that's some video, ground video from Acapulco there.
Really quick, here is a look at the radar composite for Mexico, and you can see the gap there, where there used to be a radar in Acapulco, but that went offline, not because of this hurricane. It's been offline for a good year or two here, but you can see the outer bands, of course, making it towards areas north of Acapulco, in those areas. And as it gets further and further north, we'll get a better and better look at the radar. So that's just a quick look at that. And go back to the live feed here again. It's still online. It's still online. It's still kicking. But of course, there's nothing to see. It's basically as if it was down. There's going to be nothing to see here, unless there's like an emergency generator power that's going on somewhere here. We won't be able to see anything except maybe a few lightning flashes, like I think there just was one there just a moment ago. There's infrared imagery again.
Wow, I am at a loss for words still at this point.
I think I could speak for everybody here when I did not expect to wake up and deal with a 60 mile an hour storm and just about go to bed here and deal with a 165 mile an hour Category 5 landfall in the span of 24 hours. That is just an absolutely remarkable intensification rate. That is, put it in perspective, that is, I believe, on par or maybe even slightly beat Hurricane Patricia's rate of intensification in 2015. And we all know how significant of a storm that one was.
Yeah.
Certainly going to be a very rough night for those in Acapulco, and I just hope everybody gets through it fine and we get through this with the least amount of fatalities or injuries as possible here. But boy, it's looking. At least when they look at it from satellite here, it looks pretty grim. Went Looks like it basically went straight through the city, the heart of the city here. Went through that northern Iowa and now are probably in the eye or just about to enter the secondary eye wall here, the southeastern eye wall.
Absolutely. I'm afraid that our time has come to close out on our stream here. We don't have anyone, unfortunately, on backup to take over the stream, so we are going to be ending the coverage here of this historic landfall that we have just witnessed here in the Eastern Pacific. I do appreciate Isaac for staying with me for this past hour, or multiple hours, I should say, and I really do appreciate you showing that webcam on. And if you are in the affected areas of this hurricane, I really do hope that recovery efforts come to you guys very quickly, and that aid is really going to be needed in those areas that are affected by this hurricane. I have a feeling that Acapulco is getting some serious damage, and we'll have to wait and see how bad the impacts are under under daylight tomorrow in just a few hours. We'll have to wait and see how bad the impacts are. From all of us here at Force 13, you can stay up to date with us on the tropics on our YouTube channel. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Force 13, and you can join our Discord server down in the description for tropical weather chat. My name is Ethan Bruning, and have a good night. And if you are in the affected areas of this dangerous hurricane, stay safe and hope that recovery efforts come to you as quickly as possible.